he wants to do, Congress is pretty much not even getting in the way of it.
Pretty much. And then when they want to push a bill, they push a bill maybe once. They pushed two bills, which were for basically stripping the American people of more rights, voting, Medicaid, Social Security. But I think Carmelo, I don't think that it's necessarily right, but if you go by what the Constitution says, we're all,
Let me ask you this. Let me get
until
them.
proven guilty.
Okay, and I get the instance to proven guilty part, which is going to lead me to ask you this question. Just based on what you've heard, do you think that dude is a murderer?
Carmelo?
Yeah.
No.
So you believe him plunging that weapon into that guy's chest was self-defense?
Hey, I feel like because of the way things are now, like, why are you fucking with him? You don't never know what another person has. So why even bother messing with somebody, right?
I mean, wait, hold on. I'm not
Wait a minute, Tim. It's the same thing when police say they fear for their life, right?
But we don't believe them. We know they're lying about it.
But it's actually happens sometimes. There are some cops that actually fear for their life, but then there's some cops that don't. They just meant to shoot your ass. But at the end of the day,
but hold on. You really believe Carmelo Anthony feared for his life? Do you really believe he thought he might be at risk of losing his life or serious bodily harm?
I do think so.
Then why the hell, after plunging the knife into the chest of this kid, he takes off and runs, which leads to the obvious question: why didn't he just run to begin with?
I think we all run, especially when your skin is dark.
But he could have ran with the knife, maybe in hand, so if they catch up with me, they know what they got coming. But he obviously had the opportunity to run. He just decided to poke somebody before doing it.
I say stupidity. You know what I mean? Like, I think in the heat of the moment, you could get to do something stupid and realize, oh, I messed up.
Yeah, but stupidity is no excuse for
running and making it worse.
Yeah, but stupidity is no excuse for breaking the law, you would admit, right?
Clearly, ask your president and the rest of the administration. Hold on, here's the thing. Actually turn this around. What if Carmelo was white and he did it? Would it be any different, do you think?
I think if Carmelo was Caucasian and Austin Metcalf had been an African American, I think that the same opinions would be there. They would just be coming from reverse sides. I think in that case, the Caucasian community would be okay with the self-defense argument, and the black community would be saying he's a murderer.
True. But it's we don't have the ability to like figure out who's actually telling the truth. We can go with the proof, but if I say I'm scared and I shoot you, then what really detects if
But there are witnesses on scene though, Nicole. He wasn't out there by himself. There were witnesses on scene.
Say?
I mean, they made it clear that he may have put his hands on Carmelo in the mildest of ways. I mean, it's not like Carmelo got a black eye or a broken arm or a busted nose. I mean, he is completely uninjured. So the idea that his life was in danger, based on what?
What was the okay? So I can't argue which way. I'm just assuming that he was afraid. But at the end of the day, the people can view whatever they want to, right? I was getting off the plane, Delta, coming back from Thailand a couple weeks ago, right?
Okay.
And, some people jump up and they get in the aisle so they can get off the plane. I was one of those people, right? Okay. There were several Caucasian people in front of me, right?
Okay.
This young Caucasian lady decided to squeeze in between me. My feet are swollen. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home, right?
Okay.
I work for the airlines, but this particular flight I had paid for. The lady on purposely bumped me and pushed me back. And then she stepped on my foot. She did not say excuse me. She did not say I'm sorry. Nothing. Then she further held the line so everyone could go in front of me. So she was holding it up.
Were you suddenly wishing you had something in your hand?
Yeah, I'm finna tell you. I before I knew it, I pushed her. I pushed her twice because I was so pissed off. But look at this. Everybody started looking at me. Nobody knew that she was stepping on my foot. So I look like the aggressor, like, why is she pushing this girl? Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you're pushing back on me. And before I realized, I was like, this shit could go really wrong because I already work for the, I'm like, okay, right. Let me just chill out. But, it's things like that can escalate really fast. And before you know it, I could have hit her in the face. If it was a bar, you could have hit her with a bottle.
Well, now you're behind her, and she don't went in front of you, or are you in front of her?
No, she's in front of me.
Okay, well.
She's in front of me, and she's blocking me.
Okay.
But I'm just saying how things escalate. I could have did worse.
Well, I suppose, I hate to give the game away, but if you really want to, acquire some revenge without being so noticeable, you could step on her Achilles tendon or something and apologize while you're doing it. But put a good, really, put your weight in there on the back of her heel
I didn't have any shoes on. I had on little flip-flops. I had on like the little paper flip-flops.
Oh,
so
then you can sneeze on the back of her neck and apologize. Must be something in my nose. There's always ways to do something.
Yes, there are, but it just depends on what type of temper you have. You know what I mean? It just depends on what's going on. And then I realized, I was like, okay, I'm not finna get goaded into this. I'm already in my place of employment. This is not going to go well for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So let me just let this go. But at the same time, I'm saying this kid, until he's actually proven guilty, hey, let him take the money. Some people gonna believe him, some people are not gonna believe him. Zimmerman got it.
Zimmerman, Cal Rittenhouse got quite a bit, and then of course Luigi Maggione is collecting somewhat now. Before moving on from you, the Liberation Day, we're talking about that as well. In regards to judging Liberation Day, do you think Trump will ultimately, because Trump is a competitive guy, he doesn't lose very well, he likes to win, we know that. He stated if you vote for him, you're going to get tired of winning. In regards to the tariff war, do you think Trump will ultimately be victorious? In fact, all of us would be if he is.
Okay, let me just say, I think that Maggione might get off. Okay.
What? What? Based on what grounds would Luigi Maggione walk?
Because we're in a weird place in this world now today. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So I think anything can happen in the courts as of today.
I'm going to tell you something. If a jury were to let Luigi Maggione off, it wouldn't surprise me if the judge because a judge can override that. Even if the jury says not guilty, a judge can still override that and do their own thing. It wouldn't. That's insane. If you let that guy off.
A jury doing that though, because people are so frustrated. Even though he was dead ass wrong, but people are so frustrated with the health situation in America. Why do you think he's getting so much money? Because they want to shoot somebody.
Yeah, I get it, but he's
you know what I mean? It's like they can feel it. But
he's not but he took out a CEO of a multi-gazillion company like United. He wasn't exactly taking out Emmett Till. Now Emmett Till, yeah, you could shoot him in broad daylight, nobody would give a damn. But taking out a United Healthcare CEO, you really think he might get off?
I do, especially if it's with the jury. They're gonna have to really, really scrutinize them well.
The tariff war, will he win?
Hell no.
No chance at all, huh?
I feel okay. So I also think somebody called him a friend of me or something like that. China. I think that China. The reason China drew the line in the sand was because they don't mind going to war. And when did a tariff war or trade war turn into actual war before? Yes, it has.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. That's the reason, oil embargo is kind of the reason why Japan attacked us in 1941 to start World War II. Before I let you go, though, real quick, I want to have one more coming.
You hear what they said, though?
What?
They said they didn't care what kind of war. When they first started
Yeah.
that trade shit, they said they didn't care. They was basically saying, I ain't scared. So we can start here. We can go other places too. So I don't even understand it.
Some would say they're doing what we refer to as standing on business. In the comments, though, Wild Outlaw Reality Show says, when Democrats quit using racism as a political weapon, the world will be a better place. He's obviously alluding to your comments. Are you using racism as a weapon?
Man, you got a fucking orange president in there.
I gotta go. All right, Nicole. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you.
Why can't respond?
You-
Everything that this man has done has been on a racist agenda.
Elaborate. What has he done has been racially motivated? You said racial agenda. Explain. Elaborate.
The DEI stuff, the immigrants. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everything that he tell me. Okay, since he's so smart.
That ain't what you sound like you were about to originally say. But keep going.
What has he done? What has he done on purpose to take from white people?
Well, I mean.
No. They've been lumped into certain things because there are personally white women are part of DEI and stuff like that. But what has he purposely done to discriminate against white people? No, he is mad. They're trying to reverse what DEI and other things have put in for other minorities to catch up. So now y'all done caught up too far. Now we got to put you back down.
Ooh.
What color people do he have in his administration? He has celebrity friends. He done gave people fucking podcasts, federal jobs.
He got a few colored folks. I mean, what is the guy? Marco Rubio is Cuban. Does that not count? Tulsi Gabbard has got a little color in her.
They just as white as they can be.
All right, now I gotta go. Always a pleasure, Nicole. Thank you for coming through. Start the program off right. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the program. Colored. Yeah, colored, black. No, when we say colored, that could be anything from Hispanic, obviously black, Asian, you name it. So I said colored. I'm not using colored in the 1950s sort of way, but I get what you're getting at, Arletha. Handsome MAGA, you messed up. Handsome MAGA. Okay, have I been rebranded? We're talking about three topics. We're talking about the obvious deportation of Kilmer Garcia. Been in the country since 2011, by the way. He's the one that's been accidentally deported to El Salvador. And I say accidentally because the Trump administration admitted it was due to an administrative error. That's a quote. I don't know if he was something I'm having a hard time believing he was 100% deported accidentally. Just, the whole lack of due process to me screams of we know we might make mistakes, so the less due process they get, the less likely they can prove it. We're also talking about cash for killers. Carmelo Anthony, should he be allowed to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash donations while being suspected of committing cold-blooded murder of Austin Metcalf? And last but not least, we're judging Liberation Day. How do you think the Trump administration is doing so far? Are they likely to win the tariff war? Will we emerge victorious as a country in regards to Trump's tariffs? So looking in the comments before we move on to the next caller, tap the screen, get me on up to 20 thou on the likes. THOU, 20 thou. Did they ignore the court order? Every one of them see it. Court orders don't work very well in the Trump administration. I'm just telling you that. They don't. But the court order was originally to bring him back on Monday, and he took it to the Supreme Court and was somewhat victorious, but they stated from now on they have to get due process, and they are supposed to, according to the court order, bring this guy back. Now they're saying they can't do it because he's a citizen of El Salvador, and the United States has no jurisdiction on foreign citizens when they're in their home country. So they're going to twist and turn no matter how this goes. The odd part is you admitted you sent the guy down there by error. And yet it sounds like you're making no effort at all to clear that up. Now they're suggesting, and I think it's accurate, that he has no legal right to be in America. I believe that is true. However, there's also stating he's a member of the MS-13 gang, and I don't believe they've shown any evidence at all of that. I don't know if he has any criminal history in America or El Salvador of any significance. So I don't believe that part is true, but they said it. To me, the simple thing is if you're saying he's in some kind of violent street gang, produce the evidence, and that would probably secure a lot more American opinions on your side. The fact that they're holding that evidence back speaks volumes. If he's in this violent gang, show us what you got. All right, look it in the comments. Every black dude I've seen says, stop blaming the white man, and we need to fix this. Every black guy, You think Tim Scott said that? Have you heard that from Byron Donalds? The Hodge twins? I'd like to hear what Candace Owens has to say. Every black person, Maybe you should hang around a few more African Americans. Let me go back to the box. He was going through the process of getting his citizenship. Well, that ended. So was hundreds of thousands of Americans were doing that. And Trump ended all of that shit. And by the way, don't come here illegally, come legal, and we're okay with them. No, there was a whole lot of legal migrants getting kicked out too. All of that temporary protected status shit that Biden gave them, making them legal. Trump got rid of all of that. They just said he allegedly had gang ties just to get him out. But once it's time to actually prove it, they don't have anything. That's, something, based on what I'm seeing, that sounds about right. Is that they just said he was part of a gang, but when it comes down to having to prove it, little to none is coming out. The people's president, says Paul Sauce. Donald Trump. No argument on that. 90% sent to El Salvador have no criminal history. I did hear that. Let me go back to the box. Tap the screen. Trying to get up to 20,000. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. Tap the screen. I want to take the next caller. Tap the screen, get the likes on up. We'll go to the one and only Jeremy. Good evening, Jeremy. Welcome to the program.
I've missed you. How you been?
Hey, you know what I always say, hanging around like Al Sharpton at a Klan meeting. So we're talking about the president of El Salvador actually coming to America in the Oval Office and Trump stating that he cannot get this immigrant back. Do you buy that as accurate?
Which one is saying Trump stating that or Bukele?
The Trump administration is stating Kilmar Garcia, the one that they claim they sent down there by accident due to an administrative error. They're stating that they can't get him back. Do you believe that?
I don't really believe it. And Tim, I may be MAGA, but you've known me for long enough. I'll call out my own side when I feel it's necessary. I don't think they believe that. I think the problem is they see it as a waste of resources. And I think that it's not a waste of resources, but I think in the Trump administration's eyes, in the eyes of
a waste of what kind of resources?
For one guy putting in the paperwork and the actual physical resources like the plane and stuff like that, all for one guy. That would seem like a lot. And isn't he? Well, he was illegally in the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you sent the guy to. I get he was in the country. He wasn't in the country illegally anymore because he had been to court already, and he was not officially legal, but he was not also illegal. I mean, there is a gray area, so to speak. But here's the point. Here's the issue. You sent the guy to one of the most notorious prisons accidentally. Even when you're talking about resources, you're okay with just destroying the life of a human being because it might be a few extra resources?
Nope, I'm not, but I think Trump is. And I think that it's because he's kind of going a little scorched earth. I think he's seen what's happened. I think he's overcorrecting. That's what I think is happening. There's a real problem. I think Biden was awful when it came to what he let illegal immigrants get away with.
Many people believe that.
And a lot of municipalities and a lot of state governments also didn't work with ICE when we had very, very real criminals, those that needed to be given into ICE and should have been deported. I think we can agree that New York is a huge offender of that. But I think Trump is just doing a giant overcorrection of that, and I think that needs to be reined in. I still don't regret my vote because at least he's actually addressing the problem. But again, I would
Yeah, but
rather have them not vote
you're
correct.
hurting innocent people. I mean, I get that Biden was a slacker on the border. I'm not actually not arguing with you on that. I think Trump has done a good job on the border, but to the point where you're now starting to hurt innocent lives. I mean, this guy could possibly be destroyed. I mean, how long does it take to be incarcerated under that environment before you're just mentally fucked up? I mean, he is literally destroying people
Yeah, I know.
intentionally.
That's why I say, even though I don't think the Trump administration sees it as necessary, I think they should. I think they should honor their word and do the right thing. The U.S. government has a lot of money, and as we've been seeing with Musk, a lot of money that's wasted. I think a few pennies put towards bringing some of the people back that we've wrongly put there is a good use of our money, because we want to be a just country. Again, overcorrection is still overdoing it. So, it may be a correction, but it's a correction that goes too far.
Well,
And I do think that it should.
let me present it to you this way, because your fellow brethren in the comments on all of my platforms are saying, like for instance, Bobby says the gangbanger who got shipped to El Salvador is not innocent, and folks on the YouTube have said the same thing. Do you see him as an innocent victim in this? Because most MAGA is not as reasonable with this as you are. They want this guy to rot in hell if he can.
I think that he probably should be deported in a civilized way to his original country. His
El
actual,
Salvador is his original country, I believe.
yeah,
Is it,
but put on a plane to just go back as a normal citizen. That's it. And
what?
just be told, hey, maybe in so many years you can come back and reapply. Not put in CCOT, which is the maximum security prison, but at worst, maybe you can be given a few $100 fine
Yeah.
or a few pesos.
Yeah.
And work with the El Salvadorian government and say, hey, the worst crime he did is he came in the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, so do you, because the way Trump is doing it right now, obviously there's no due process, and they're all the way down to if you have the wrong looking tattoo or something like that. Do you support that?
I support Earth looking into that person and doing investigations and maybe even detaining them. But they need to go in front of a judge and have a jury actually look over their case and have due process.
So you,
I've always,
so you do see what Trump, like my last caller was definitely not Trump, not MAGA at all, in stating that Trump was throwing out the Constitution. It sounds like you kind of agree, at least on this issue here, that he is doing all kinds of unconstitutional shit.
well, that's the thing. I've been seeing a lot of conflicting things about the due process argument and whether or not it is constitutional. So I can't say 100%. Well, what I will say is sometimes you just know something is right, even if it's not legal. Even if it is not necessary according to the Constitution, let's just give other Trump supporters benefit of the doubt. And just say that, oh, there's no constitutional need for this. Okay, let's just play along with that for a second. I still think it's the right thing to do to just say we'll still give them due process anyway, because that makes it so that way when that person gets deported, it was for the right reasons.
Right.
And hey, and again, my principles, I stick with them and I stick with them regardless of administration. And Trump is not my god. I love what he's done for a lot of different ways. I love his ideas. I love a lot of the stuff he's done, and I think that he's probably a much better president than we've had in a long time. But he is not God. I'm not even a Christian. I'm agnostic. But to me, you should never make a mortal human being godlike. And I think that we've seen so much shit from the left, so much shit that doesn't work. And that all of a sudden when Trump comes in, a lot of fellow MAGA, my fellow brethren in arms, I guess you could say, they just give him too much of a pass on things that I say, no, this is why I elected him. I want him to stick to that.
Other than what we're talking about now with this El Salvador deportation, give me an example of something else that you believe that the right is giving Trump a pass for that you don't think should have happened.
Oh, let me think for a second.
I thought you were about to say, let me count the ways.
I got one.
Okay.
Greenland. We need to let it go. We just need to let Greenland go. Now I have no belief that Canada is going to become the 51st state. I'm pretty sure that was just Trump, just like trolling in Canada and mostly Trudeau. Because
Why would you troll your best friend? on some shit like that, why would you do that?
Oh my God. Trudeau is such a soft milk stop up of a man. Okay, he deserved every single bit of the trolling he got. He deserved it. He was such a weak leader that was so two-faced and such a hypocrite. I have no respect for Justin Trudeau whatsoever. Okay? But here's the thing. We need to let it go with Greenland, okay? Just let it go.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Greenland, we agree on Greenland, but this Canadian shit you're throwing at me is really throwing me for a loop. By the way, he's not just trolling Trudeau. He's also stated that Canada doesn't work as a country and it needs to be a state. He's trolling the whole fucking nation. It ain't just Trudeau. He's trolling all of them.
You've never seen South Park where they literally have the separated heads that bounce up and down and stuff? You've never seen that? Everyone trolls Canada. And I think Canada deserves it a little bit because it's funny.
Do you realize how, oh my God. So him stating we don't need anything from Canada, they need us. You really think the president, you're comparing the president of the United States to blame Canada? I've seen the movie. So you really comparing those two things?
Listen. Normally, I would say presidents should have a little more decorum, but here's the thing. I will say, I think that Canada has become such a clown country. They deserve a little trolling. Like, did you see the shit that they pulled with the trucker protest, where they were literally like cutting off like people for like giving money to truckers on Give Send Go, and all because they weren't even against the vaccine. They were just saying that it should be between you and your doctor. That's it.
You do realize we elected a celebrity that paints his face orange. You do know they looking at us like we're a clown country. I mean, I'm just telling you. Countries are looking at us. That doesn't mean you clown the leadership because you don't like what the country is doing. I mean, you could clown every country on earth under those rules.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's also plenty of other stuff that they did with firearms. Like they were trying to like keep firearms out of the hands of their own civilians. It's Canada. There are bears up there and moose. Moose will maul you.
You actually,
oh yeah, we're gonna throw away your guns and just give them bears a hug. Them bears, they're really good up there.
The nation that sends their children to school and they come home in a body bag is telling us what to do about mooses. I mean, do you realize how you
Okay, hold on. I'm not letting you get away with that comment.
Okay.
Tim, mass shootings are not nearly as common in schools as you think they are. If you actually like I've seen them, they happen, and I'm not saying that they don't happen too much because one time is too much. One time is too much. But here's the thing: a lot of the stats we see about mass shootings are actually manipulated. Like there's a lot of stats that will use something like a gun going off in a school zone, not even like at a school, but like within like a mile of a school.
Jeremy,
as a school shooting.
Trump passed a law to protect women in sports from biological males playing. You're talking about some shit that don't happen very often. People are talking about, I don't want my kid to go in the bathroom. You're talking about the numbers of school shootings are manipulated. You want to talk about manipulated numbers. The stuff they're accusing the transgender community of is completely fabricated. It's just not there. So clearly manipulating numbers seems to be the order of the day. But when you talk about the numbers of kids going to school and not coming home, you did say the right thing. One is too many. Regardless of what the actual numbers are, we got to admit over the last 20 years or so, it's been hundreds of kids that have went home and didn't come back. Is that not true?
Yes, and it's one too many. Yeah, although I will say this, taking away firearms doesn't solve anything. It doesn't really solve anything. Okay,
now, we could debate that. I'm just simply saying there are more kids losing their lives in schools in America than they're losing their lives to moose in Canada. So I just, I don't know. You're saying America is looking at Canada like there's some kind of joke while we're dealing with this in our country. I don't see it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to touch on Carmelo Anthony before we go. So I think Carmelo. First off, I want all the evidence to come out first before I make a final judgment. I'm going to be willing to do that. Okay, I did that with Kyle Rittenhouse. I want to do it again here with Carmelo Anthony.
I like
With that
that.
being said, if everything stays exactly the same with everything we've already heard, if everything we've already heard is exactly all the evidence that there is, that kid needs to spend quite a few years in jail.
Yeah. I wish I could argue with you on it. Based on what I've heard, I don't see this, and I was debating that with my last caller. I don't see the self-defense argument other than, I'm black and he's black, so I think he should, I get that. Same thing, it's literally the same argument in favor of Ashley Babbitt. I'm MAGA and she's MAGA, so she should get away with it. I mean, that's because you know damn well, and I'm gonna ask you this as MAGA, you know damn well that if there was a Black Lives Matter protest and it was Queen Latifah climbing in through the window at a Capitol building, right? You know damn well MAGA would be like, "Hey, fuck around and find out." Am I correct?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, you're not wrong about that at all. But
Right.
the thing is, I think that my biggest argument for Carmelo Anthony is this. There's the stand your ground law and the castle doctrine. They both say that it is not a complete exemption, or not a complete exemption from having to walk away. It lessens as the duty to retreat, but not completely. Like, for instance, you can't use stand your ground if you're in a location you're not supposed to be. Like, I can't stand your ground in I can't come into your house, Tim, and be like, I'm standing.
Yeah, but they were in public though. They were in a public event. I mean, so, and not to mention the kid who, we're talking about Austin Metcalf, the deceased. He had no right to defend where he was. I mean, that was not his property. He had no right to touch that kid. Even if he wasn't killed, he would be a candidate for an assault charge. I mean, he was not 100% innocent.
Right, absolutely. I don't think Metcalf was totally in the right. He probably should have gotten his.
Right.
He probably should have either got his ass beat, or he probably should have gotten a coach to be like, "Hey, okay, what are you doing here? Get out. You're not supposed to be here."
Yep.
But with that being said, you can't bring a knife to school, and you can't bring it to an event, and all of a sudden pulling out a little blade and being like, I'm gonna do this to you, and then running away. There's no.
Well, I don't disagree with you that he probably had no right to have a weapon on him at the school event, but a lot of people take weapons a lot of my 2A lovers take weapons into places where they're told not to because they'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. So he did the same. I mean, you got to look at Kyle Rittenhouse. I often bring him up. He had no business bringing an AR to that event either, but it saved his life. So this kid is using the same argument similar to Kyle Rittenhouse, is that, I didn't have a right bringing this here, but it saved my life.
Right. Well, at least Kyle can make the defense. He actually did run away. Carmelo didn't.
Well, good point.
Yeah.
Good argument.
We actually have film of Rittenhouse actually retreating,
right.
And people continuing to pursue him. And it was during an actual riot that he actually brought his firearm. So it wasn't. So the circumstances are much more different than say, when it's just a track meet, like a track meet. Like, who's going there and be like, all right, honey, I'm going to the track meet. I'm going to bring my bulletproof vest. It's like,
well, I mean, you do know they sell. You do know they sell bulletproof vests for kids to wear to school now. Bulletproof backpacks and all of that stuff. They actually sell that.
I think that's a result of culture. You want to know why?
It's a result of American culture because we can't stop our love for guns. They're not doing that anywhere else in the world.
Well, here's the thing: the Swiss love guns as well, but they've only had one mass shooting their entire history. Only one. I think but if you look at Swiss crime rates, they're extremely low. Extremely low. I think that they just have a better. I think that's if you start looking into the culture that people are brought up in, I'm not going to say any names of any shooters because I don't want to give them the glory.
Okay, I think I kind of already know where you're going by you prefacing like that, but go ahead.
Yeah, but if you look at the backgrounds of the shooter, there's every single one of them clearly should have been on an FBI watch list, and most of them were. Most of them were on the radars. Most of these people were like a basket case. Most of them had backgrounds where you're like, oh fuck, how have you not gotten in trouble before? All right, like the person at Parkland, the one who went to the church and was racist and shot a bunch of black people.
Dylan Roof. Yeah,
All
you
of
talking about Dylan Roof. Well, but that is the 2A people who do not want their gun rights infringed on. They're the ones that want to make it hard, even when a person has mental illness, to take their firearms away. That's why it's so hard when somebody is, as you say, clearly on the radar to do anything about it. Because the 2A folks don't want anything to happen. They want the person to damn near be pistol whipping you before you can take their firearm.
Well, here's why. It's because, unfortunately, if you try to take away the guns, it's only a band-aid solution. It only attacks the symptom, and it causes a bunch of unnecessary consequences. People will just go to gangs and buy illegal firearms and commit it like that. It's just that it's easier when you don't have a criminal record to buy one legally, so people go with the path of least resistance. A much better solution would be to attack the problem at the source. We need to build cultures where people are stable. Look at Japan. Like, Japan doesn't have hardly any guns, but they also don't have hardly any crime. They don't have, sure, there's organized crime, but a lot of that's very white collar.
You really want to get a culture where people are stable when you're against minimum wage increase, you're against socialized health care, you're against treatment for mental illness if you have to pay. We don't want to do anything for our citizens at all, up to and including give them a pay raise, and we expect society to be stable. And if they do get in trouble and they're incarcerated, we want to treat them like shit while they're in there and expect them to come out civilized. I think we're doing everything to guarantee the opposite of what you're suggesting.
Well, I think there's a lot of problems that we have, like all the different problems that you have. But I think that what we just talked about aren't problems that we have to solve by just having a government get involved. A lot of times governments just make it worse or just don't solve the problem at all.
Then how are you going to solve it? If the government does nothing, then how are you going to solve it?
Well, let's talk about the healthcare side. There's a lot of smaller healthcare companies can't compete with the big boys because of overregulation. And you would see prices go down if that was the case, if they were able to do that. Did you know that there are actually price floors for certain medications? They don't allow certain medications like insulin to go below a certain price, so that way it forces the company to make more profits than they would normally make. And actually, the companies want to lower prices because when prices are too high, they price people out of the market. And there would be a lot more customers they could have.
What good does any of that do if I'm out of work?
If you're out of work, there used to be a lot of more help from places like the Knights of Columbus and other charitable organizations.
The Knights of Columbus, do they wear white hoods? That sounds kind of familiar.
No. First off, you're thinking of Protestants. That the Klan is Protestants.
Oh.
The Knights of Columbus are actually Catholics.
I don't want to find myself walking into some Knights of Columbus. Could you guys help me get health care? They gave me a rope. We're going to clear that up. I gotta move it on. Go ahead. I got to move it on, though. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, one thing I'll say about the Knights is that they're very, very nice. And before I left Catholicism, is that there's actually a huge core of them in Africa. They're not racist at all. Okay. They actually helped a lot of people when they were oppressed in the United States.
All right, fair enough. All right, it sounded kind of comical to me, but Jeremy, thanks for coming through as always, man. Good to talk to you.
Have a fantastic one, Tim.
You too. All right, so we're going to move the program straight on. I'm just getting a lot of lazy thumbs in. We should have been easily around 30,000 on the likes. I can't get somebody to tap the screen. Tap the screen, get the likes up. Will G, yeah, I came on earlier. I may start doing the lives between this time, around this time today. I don't know. You guys let me know if you prefer the later broadcast or not. So we'll talk about that. Dang, bro, I'm glad I checked for you. Otherwise, I would have missed the love. Appreciate it, Will G. Thank you. But yeah, I'm debating if I want to start doing it this reasonable hour now that I've kind of got some of my family affairs in order. I can do a little bit better timing, and I can do it more routine. So if I give you a time, it'll be that time. I like the early show, says Johnny 11. Fair enough. Can't like this when you defend a black boy because of his color. Hot Rod, like I said, I don't agree with defending somebody for a crime solely based on their skin color at all. But I'm not going to lie and pretend like it's not the American way. It has been wrong from day one. You've seen the movie Mississippi Burning. What do you think that was about? Folks not being held accountable solely because of their skin color. A lot of this shit only became a major issue when it started benefiting people of color. DEI, affirmative action, all of this stuff. It used to work very well for one group of people, and now that it's working well for other groups of people, that same group that originally benefited are hating on it. But listen, we all know if someone white harmed someone like me for most of America's history, they could enjoy the fact that they would not be held accountable for it. That's the way it always was. So I'm not a fan of letting anybody off, including Carmelo Anthony, solely because he's black. But as I told my last caller, let's just be clear. If the skin colors of these two were reversed, and by the way, their skin color is the only reason this is a national news story. If it was two white kids or two black kids shanking each other up, nobody would give a damn. But fact is, there's a reason why the blacks are acting one way and the whites are acting another. And it's solely based on their skin color. As I stated before, when you look at Carmelo Anthony being a black person taking the life of the white Austin Metcalf, and you compare that to that black Capitol Police officer taking the life of Ashley Babbitt, a white woman, clearly breaking the law when it happened, notice how the same folks that want Carmelo Anthony under the jail also wants the Capitol Police officer in the same location. Race has a lot to do with this stuff, folks. Race has a lot to do with it. So I don't defend anybody based on their race, but understand the only reason that Ashley Babbitt was getting defended is the same damn reason. She happened to be MAGA. I'm MAGA. I'm going to defend her no matter what she's doing. Same thing. Real quick looking in the comments, though. Not guilty like Rittenhouse. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse is found not guilty, so we'll leave it at that for now. Going back to the box, we'll continue on with, I don't know what I just hit there, but we'll make it happen with Takesha Boyd. Good evening, Takesha. Welcome to the program.
Baby.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I know you've been blushing when you saw my name in your comments. I saw you blushing, Tim.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I can't argue with
I know
that.
that's right. Let me tell you something, Tim. I told my grandbaby, I said, look, don't you go be no bully.
That's good advice.
If a bully come to you, you beat that bully ass. Let me tell you something. You don't know what state of mind that young man was in. Teach your children to shut the fuck up and don't say nothing to nobody that ain't said a damn thing to them. And all of this could have been avoided. He had no business going up to that boy saying shit. He was not an adult. He didn't own that place. If he felt like that boy was there and shouldn't have been there, he should have went and got an adult. They could have asked the young man why he was there, asked the young man to leave. You don't know where people mindset be at.
I'm not arguing with that, but I'm going to ask you a simple question. Was his action, albeit irresponsible according to your take, and I'm not totally arguing with that, but was his action worthy of losing his life? Did the punishment that Carmelo Anthony gave him fit what he was doing to Carmelo Anthony?
Damn. For every action, there is a reaction. You don't get to choose the reaction of your actions.
Actually, the law does. If you walk up and smack me in the face.
You don't.
Yeah, but we're talking about.
Say this. That's just like if you were, say you work at a gas station. And I come in there and I cuss you out and I got my hand all in your face and I'm calling you stupid MFers.
Okay.
If you slap me so hard, I hit the floor, bump my head, I pass away. Guess what? That was a reaction to the action I caused.
Yeah, man, but that's a lot different than planting a knife in somebody's chest, Keisha.
Let me tell you something, Tim. That's why I say you don't know where people mindsets be at. Leave people alone.
I'm 100% behind the notion that you should leave people alone, like getting out the car doing road rage arguments and shit like that. I think it's stupid.
You don't know if a person is at that point of just snapping and you done drove them over the edge. That's why I say just leave people alone.
I'm good with that. You get no disagreement from me there. But do you believe Carmelo Anthony has a self-defense case?
I wouldn't call it self-defense.
But you call it murder.
I wouldn't call it murder.
Manslaughter.
I would call it getting you the fuck up out my face.
That's not a
That's
charge.
what that's the argument. I go in court and say, look, Judge, I want to plead getting you the fuck up out my face.
Let me ask you just straight out. If it was up to you and you had any power at all of this case, would you lock Carmelo Anthony up at all?
I would probably give him maybe no more than 5 years.
That's really light for taking some kid's
I
life.
don't care. If that boy had never went up to him, that boy would have still been living. So you cannot discount that the boy caused his own demise.
That's really okay. What about the notion that people are bringing this up? The fact that you brought a knife to a school event shows you were capable of mayhem to begin. Why would you bring a knife to an event like that? To an event like that?
Said we don't know if that boy had been bullied already, Tim. You don't know what these kids go through, Tim. A lot of kids be packed with weapons that you don't know they have. You don't know what this boy went through to make him snap like that at that point. So maybe some people had been already bullying that boy, and he brought that for protection. I'm going to give you an example. My friend Angie was dating this guy, right?
Okay.
And he used to jump on her. So one night, because he had jumped on her a good little bit of times, one night she got a knife and put it in her jacket.
Okay.
Because she had said the next time he jumped her, she was going to cut him to get him off of her. Not kill him, but cut him. Okay, Tim. She ended up cutting him. He ended up dying. She ended up going to jail. Every time it's time for her to come up for probation, his folks go down there and speak against her. But my thing is, y'all ain't said nothing about y'all son beating the hell out of my friend. So that's why I say you don't get to choose the reaction for your actions.
I would be more willing to agree with you if it was a case like your friend where Austin Metcalf was really beating the hell out of this guy. It doesn't sound like Carmelo Anthony was harmed at all. Snuggles in the comments asked this question. So what if it was a white kid that brought a sharp instrument to a school event and he stabbed a black kid? Would you have the same opinion?
Can you ask me a question from somebody else? Because Snuggles know I don't fuck with him at all.
Okay, let me ask you the question from me.
Give me a question from somebody
else. Let me ask you to you from me. If the races of this event were flipped and the event was the exact same as it is now, with your opinion,
I still feel the same way.
I don't know if I believe you.
Let me tell you something, Tim. I'm not that kind of black person. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If the black boy had came up to the white boy store with him, I would have said the same thing. For his action, it caused the reaction. That's why I tell my children all the time, don't start with nobody. And I always pray that they don't have to harm nobody and don't let nobody harm them. Because you just can't go with these. Like when I be riding with my son and he be getting mad at people on the freeway, I said, look, I'm in the car with you, your baby in the car with you. You do this shit when I ain't in here. Because if something happened to you, I don't want it to happen to me. Stop getting so angry because folks cut you off. Because every action causes a reaction. That's what I teach my children. So even if the races were reversed, I would still be saying the exact same thing, Tim.
You know, I like that, but I'm going to just tell you, when you were talking with the passion in your voice, it got to remind me of Della Reese. I'm an honest hoe, and all my hoes are honest from Harlem Nights.
Yeah,
but
no,
you're right. No, hold on. You
straight up, Tim.
I believe you. I'm just your tone made me think of that line in the movie. But no, I agree with you, because road rage is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, there's so many folks that lose their lives in regards to that. But
I don't care nothing about the color. I don't care nothing about the race. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
But when you said 5, but even you're admitting you would give, if you were in control, you would give Carmelo Anthony 5 years. That's substantial. That can change a kid's life. So even you're admitting he was.
I would give him some time.
Yeah,
but you still got to learn that you can't just react like you reacted.
Okay, then how about this? He do the 5 years, which I think is exceptionally light, but he does the 5 years. Probation. How long is he on paper after he get out?
He gonna have to be on paper, Tim. A long time. But he gonna have to go to classes. He gonna have to go to self-awareness classes. He gonna have to do the the self-control classes. He gonna have to do a lot.
Okay, so you're pretty much admitting he fucked up.
You ain't messed up.
Okay. All right. All
So
right. We
I
get
don't know
somewhere.
what this child endured before he messed up. But I would give him some time because you got to pay for your crime.
Okay. So why do you think so many?
I wouldn't throw his whole life away.
Okay, and I can work with that because he's so young. I wouldn't do that either. But
Like these same folks talking about sending this boy to El Salvador, didn't have nothing to say about that white boy that was raping women, and the judge said if he locked him up, it'll ruin his life, and he never did get
yeah,
locked up. So whatever, white people.
yeah. What was it? What did he say he would be? Because he was rich, some kind of a.
He was rich.
What did he say he would
The
be?
rest of his life
Yeah,
if he locked him up.
what was the excuse they used? Some kind of privilege, but I forgot what they called it. It was
Some
some.
kind of foolishness, Tim, but I ain't seen no white people up in arms about that. He out here raping and taking women's stuff, but he too rich and gonna be too successful, so we don't need to lock him up. I ain't seen nobody come out against that, Tim.
Yeah, affluenza. That's what it's. Yeah, you're right. I forgot all about that case.
I didn't. I could go to a lot of stuff that white people have gotten off with that black people would have never gotten off with.
I think it
So
was. I
stop
think it
it.
was a case of some. He was was it a DUI or something like that? We killed 4 people and they let him go or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, affluenza. Yeah.
Come
Wow.
on, Tim.
Okay. I can't argue with the counterpoints. I can't. Before I move it on from you though, let me switch gears here. The guy in El Salvador that they're admitting was sent there accidentally. Trump is saying he can't get him back. Does that pass the smell?
You mean to tell me the great and powerful Oz, who everybody is afraid of, who countries are kissing his ass, can't get a little citizen back from El Salvador? The great and powerful Trump?
Well, he's not a citizen of
I
America.
don't care. That's Trump. You know, people bow down. They scared of Trump. They're fearful of Trump. So all Trump got to do is say one thing, and that president will be shaking in his boots and bringing that man back here, Tim. Because it's Trump. Now, let me say this, Tim.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's cruel the way they're doing them, folks. You ain't giving them no due process. You just straight shipping them off. You know your administration is incompetent, for number one. So y'all done made a mistake and sent that man over there. Like I said, Trump is the greatest thing since applesauce in a jar. You know, because it lasts longer. And you mean to tell me, sweet baby, man in charge, the great and powerful Hercules Trump, can't get him back? I'm appalled. The man who Nancy Pelosi gave orders to and he obeyed not to send police to the Capitol. You mean he can't go and get a man back?
That's what they said.
Donald Trump, come on now, handsome.
That's what they said. They said they cannot get him back. He's in El Salvador.
I know Donald Trump, as great as he is, can get that man back.
Yeah, it is hard to believe. Last but not least, listen. You and I are on the same side of that
Let me
topic.
say this, Tim, right quick before I forget. Nobody was talking bad about Canada until Donald Trump started talking bad about Canada. Yeah. Now all of a sudden everybody got something bad to say about Canada. Didn't I tell you that's what they do? If Donald Trump get up tomorrow and talk about Mickey Mouse, they gonna cancel Disney because Donald Trump said something bad about Mickey Mouse. It doesn't become a topic until Donald Trump makes it one. Now come on with the question you had, Tim.
I wish I could disagree with that. And there was a time when Ron DeSantis was running against Trump that they were attacking his handling of Mickey Mouse. You know, they said he was fucking. Yeah, it was happening. Liberation Day. We're judging Liberation Day. Do you think Trump is likely to win the tariff war?
Hell no. Let me tell you this. Trump would be boys to men before China be boys to men. Do you hear me?
I don't get
Down
that.
on bending knee. Ain't no way Donald Trump finna win no war. Let me tell you what they said, Tim. And I don't know how true it is, but I'm definitely gonna repeat it. They said Trump tried to call and talk to my boy.
Xi Jinping?
And yeah, so he tried to call over there. And said my boy left him on hold.
So
he ain't finna talk to Donald Trump. He ain't got nothing to say to Donald Trump. He said he going for whatever Trump got, he coming back with it. They said, did you see the man that's from over there? He said China has existed before America was America.
I actually reposted that. He stated that.
He said they are not bowing down. And I truly believe that they not bowing down. They got the Chinese folks now on TikTok. And I told you this, the jump of this administration. I said, Tim, we gonna go through. Didn't I tell you? I said we gonna go through some hard times.
Well, shit, he said it too. He said it's gonna be some temporary suffering. Trump even said that.
Listen, you ain't seen. Trump don't even know what we finna go. We finna go through some real hard times. I read that scripture to you where God said He was gonna put children. That means people that didn't know what they was doing. People, which is us. The trade was gonna be messed up. That was in that scripture, and we finna go through some hard times because y'all put somebody in there based on his racism, based on his hate, and based on this fake economy y'all thought y'all had going on, and y'all finna pay for it. That's all that's finna happen.
You think Trump was elected due to racism?
I believe that the racists like the way he talked about the other brown people. I do. I truly do. I believe that's really the reason he got pushed in. But Tim, let me say this, and then I'm going to let you go. I told Zeus I didn't want no report from Walter Reed. Because if Donald Trump weighed 224 pounds and is in perfect health, then I'm a white woman with blonde hair running from ICE, trying to seek asylum.
All right, Takesha. Always a pleasure.
Thank 24 Tim. Come on, Tim. Tim, I'm over here right now with blonde hair, running from ICE, seeking asylum. If Donald Trump is 224 pounds and in perfect health with all that McDonald's he eat, stop it, Tim.
I don't think anybody.
They play too much at Walter Reed, and I'm not finna believe none of that crap.
I think that nobody believes that he's that weight is accurate.
Yes, they do. MAGA believe it, Tim.
All right, Takesha, you hurt my jaws.
All right, my baby, I love you, Tim.
Sentiments mutual. Thank you.
All right, sweetie.
Takesha never plays. I mean, she don't. Maybe ask you this question though. By way of yes or no in the comments, just simple yes or no. How many of you believe that height and weight measurement that came out of Walter Reed about Trump is accurate? How many of you folks believe that he's like 2.25? How many of you folks believe that is accurate? Just in the comments. Real quick in the comments, MAGA ain't shit, says Will G. I was looking at all the right-wing pages about the situation, and you don't even want to glance at the comments. One of them, find a T. I don't give a tree. Oh, wow. So he's saying he'd been looking at the comments coming from right-wingers in regards to the Carmelo Anthony case, and they're talking about, basically find a tree. I believe that. I actually do believe that. I wouldn't be surprised if some folks said that about the Capitol police officer that shot Ashley Babbitt too. I believe that. I haven't seen it. I'm just going to be candid, but I read enough stuff to put these programs together, right, left, stuff like that. I know when the left goes extreme and what the stuff that they say, and I know what extreme right sounds like, and that is a product of the extreme right is what he's talking about. He was in the streets. He ain't no nerd, says Yoshi. You're talking about Carmelo? I'm late to that comment, Yoshi. Are you talking about Carmelo Anthony? He was in the street. He's not a nerd. Has anybody said he's a nerd though? I don't think the nerd thing. I want to give you guys my take on the bringing a knife to school thing though, because listen, I know you don't supposed to bring weapons to school, but I mentioned this on previous lives. I did it before, and I'm gonna tell you why. Will G, that's how MAGA never turn their clocks forward. They think it's still 1925. ain't fathom black kid. They can't fathom a black kid defending himself. Yeah, I mean, if you defend yourself against, listen, if we are talking about somebody that is going to be a true supremacist, true racist, yeah, if you were black and you defended I believe there's a movie like that. So that I'm not speculating, and so people don't think that I'm just trying to race bait or whatever. I believe Sidney Poitier starred in a movie, might have been with Carol O'Connor, where he slapped a black sheriff. And even in that era, and that's like the 1960s, I believe, 60s or 70s, it was so off culture to see a black person hitting a white person, even in self-defense, that there were theaters that did not want to show that. So when we talk about a black person defending themselves, it ain't something that's being made up. It actually did. Mr. Tibbs, yeah, and that led to the whole series In the Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor as the star of that. Yeah, so there was a time in the country like that where if you were black and you were attacked by somebody white, you were not expected to defend yourself. You was expected to take it. So he's saying that that's how you know MAGA never turned their clocks forward. They still think it's 1925. They cannot fathom a black kid defending himself. I'm going to leave it at that, but in 1925, he's correct. A black kid would not have had the right to defend himself against an attack by a white person. The county they are in can't charge him as an adult, so it won't be a very long sentence. Is that true? No, I haven't heard that. I was expecting, I would have put money on Carmelo Anthony being charged as an adult. Will G is saying that the county, now it's in Frisco, so it's a suburb of Dallas, if I'm correct, but he's saying that the county that this took place in, Carmelo Anthony cannot be charged as an adult. Wow, is that true? Wow, then it won't be a long sentence. It certainly won't be any of that life without parole shit that many are suggesting. My opinion is this. I have a hard time charging any 17-year-old unless it's for like a serial killer event. 17 suggesting that their life is irreparable. You can't repair it from 17. The guy might live to be 90. I always think of Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption, where he admitted he was a murderer. And it's clear it's clear that he has straightened up. Pretty clear he's straightened up, but he's still got all these years to do. So 17, I have a hard time putting a 17-year-old away for life unless it's just, Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe Dylan Roof, where you go and take out a bunch of people, but it's, heat of the moment, passion, stuff like that. One person, maybe I'm a softie on it. It's all about their hate for black and brown and yellow, which is Asian people. Don't be surprised. Stop the Asian hate comes back. Wow. You really expected it to get dark under the Trump administration there, Will. What about the life of the murdered person? It's awful. It's awful. But if we punish people based on the mindset of how the victims feel, virtually anything you do will come with a death sentence. Because if you steal my car, I want your ass to do 15 years. I mean, if you victimize somebody and you punish folks based on the mindset of the victim, everything would have a draconian punishment to it. Because the victim is going to want you to suffer forever. I mean, so I hear what you're saying, though. Hanson, would you be talking like this if the roles were reversed? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Because I had lives where I actually believed that Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense and the liberals did not like that. Yeah, I would be. I would be doing that. This was premeditated. Try him as an adult. I'd say this regardless of the perp's heritage. I don't know. Listen, I don't know you from Adam, so I can't argue whether you say it or not. But the premeditated part, which basically means that you believe that Carmelo Anthony went to the event planning to take his life. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think I believe that. But we'll see what comes out in court. Let me go back to the box. We'll continue on with Denkow. Good evening, Denkow. Welcome to the show. Yes, it's obvious you're a member of the Fools Club. You don't care what crimes he commits or the incessant lies that he tells. It's very important you don't question him. I guess you're talking about Trump, Kevlin. I think you're talking about Trump to somebody. Denkow, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Now, by now, you're pretty aware of what happened with Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf.
Yes, I mean what I've heard in the media, but obviously a lot of the facts haven't come out about what their prior history was, if there was friction, if there was bullying or any of that stuff. Like, I don't know. So
I heard a release today that suggests they didn't know each other at all before this happened.
So it was just instant. I just don't know if I believe that he, this just random one day. He just was sitting there in the rain, and the guy said something to him, and he plunged the knife in his chest. Like,
it sounds extreme as hell. I gotta admit that too. It just doesn't sound like this dude is sitting there anticipating murdering people.
Right. And I don't know if they didn't, maybe they didn't know each other particular, but you know how cliques and stuff are in school. Like, the guys who do the bullying, if they was the jocks and maybe he was, one of the stoners, you know how it is in school when they all click up. So there's a lot of nuances that we don't know the answers to, but it's hard for me to, like, I don't really, I really don't like to comment on it because I know that I'm coming from a type of unconscious bias when it comes to saying, like, okay, whether he was a black kid or a white kid, and I agree with you, the tables would be totally turned if the races
were reversed, the comments would be reversed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to automatically just give them a pass, because I know that comes from a deep inside me where I know that we have been on the wrong side of the stick, no matter if we was right or wrong for so long. It's just inherently something I think of when I see these situations. And there, when we're talking about the other side's perspective, there's always they were innocent kind of thing that starts no matter what the situation is, no matter if they was the attacker or the attackee. They always seem to think like their children couldn't have been doing nothing that bad, and so, give the other guy the chair and that kind of stuff. But when it's one of theirs, he had a little mental health issues, and we need to just get him a little help. So I kind of shy away from that particular situation, because I know that my thoughts...
Okay, fair enough. But let me ask you this quickly. So, because I get your point, we can't speculate until we get all the facts, and I definitely got your point about my son was a good little boy. I understand that. But what about the whole notion of why would you bring a knife to an event like this if you didn't plan on hurting somebody?
Listen, I was born and raised in some of the worst parts of Detroit growing up. I used to carry, when I was young, even if I had no beef or I did have beef, because you always know there's the potential when you go certain places, when you go to these school things and you got rivals and maybe somebody says something. Yeah. So I can't predict like why he would do it. Yeah. But obviously I don't believe that he was a stone cold, killer who just went there and just, So there's so much to it that it'd be hard for me to make a judgment and say whether I believe that the young man should, go to jail for the rest of his life.
And I'm kind of the same way. I mentioned I've carried weapons to high school myself for probably some of the same reason that you mentioned. The president of El Salvador, in the Oval Office today, Trump states right in front of the guy, they cannot bring this man back. He's answering the CNN reporter Caitlin Collins when they're asking about bringing him back. Instead of talking about why they can or can't bring the guy back, they choose to attack Caitlin Collins of CNN over and over again, suggesting the news network sucks and all that.
That was a simple question that's in the public interest. We all want to know. The Supreme Court said, get him back. Are you going to bring him back? There was nothing biased about that question. She wasn't trying, it was no gotcha question or nothing. She was just saying, you guys have been dragging your feet. Now that the Supreme Court chimed in, are you going to bring him back? And they turned that into, oh my God, why are you attacking the government? You must like MS-13. Like, what's wrong with...
They tore her ass up. I mean, they took turns. I mean, because he handed it off to his spokeswoman first, and then did Rubio get in? I mean, he literally handed it off to all of them.
Got in, and Stephen Miller got in there, and
God.
Basically, one thing I learned. This is a real quick story about when I was in the military, and we were talking about the UCMJ, which is basically the law in the military.
Military justice, yeah.
Right. So we was having a conversation, and we were getting somebody that worked for me was getting ready to go to what we call mass, which is basically go to court. And so I was reading the UCMJ what it said about that particular offense that he had committed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it's right there. It's it's in black and white, and it says exactly what it is. And he told me something that I've carried with me to this day. He said, I want to let you know something, man. Everything you read is open to interpretation. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't understand what you're saying, because we read it. It says right here, if you commit. He said, listen, everything is open to interpretation. So I apply this to what they did today. They literally took the Supreme Court's words. They took one word, which was facilitated, and turned it around. And Stephen Miller got up there and said, they voted with us 9-0 in our favor.
I saw that. Like
that was so. It would be hilarious if it wasn't like so degrading to the Constitution and to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But like, man, they just got up there and they just bullied the whole situation, and they just laughed, and they had this young Bolsonaro, or whatever the leader is of El Salvador, sitting there talking about, how can I bring a terrorist back to the country? I can't do that. That's not, I can't. And Trump sitting there smiling, knowing that he done said that any world leader, he could destroy them with the stroke of a pen or saying anything. He's sitting next to the guy saying that he can't do something.
That's kind of something what Takesha, that's kind of what Takesha was saying too, is that you're supposed to be the most almighty man on the planet, and you're telling me you can't get this one guy back from a country we have diplomatic relations with.
Next to you.
Yeah.
We seen what you did to Zelensky, how you bullied him. Yeah. But now you got this other guy sitting in there who offers America nothing.
But what can anybody in our country do about it if he does not actually follow the order of the Supreme Court?
He's going to go back up to the Supreme Court. It's going to go to the lower court judge tomorrow. She's going to ask the same questions. What are you guys doing? The lawyers from
but what is the meat behind it? In other words, it's
going back up to the Supreme Court.
Right, but if he keeps not following it, there's no enforcement behind it. Is what I'm saying. What is the motivation to get them to actually listen to them?
These are the constraints that he is testing that have never been tested in our country by anybody, because the country was always built on the trust me, bro. It's always been checks and balances and all of that stuff. But if you somehow get all of the the offices in your court, then where's the check? There is no check. So,
there's no right now in regards to a lot of this stuff. Yeah, there is no checks and balances of President Trump, because he does appear to know that if I don't follow a court order, there's what you gonna do about it. He could literally look the judge in court and tell him what you gonna do about it.
He has not got to that point yet. It appears that way to us because we interpret it as he said no. But what he's saying is he's using the wording that, like I said, to interpret it to mean something totally different.
I mean, what do they gotta really do? Put on a piece of paper, bring his ass back now to make it clear?
It's going to go back up to them, and they are going to have to make something clear. Either say he doesn't or he does, but he has not yet said, I'm just not going to listen to you.
I mean, listen.
I've been watching it closely, and I know it seems like he said that, but he hasn't. The same way he was on Air Force One, and he was like, yeah, I respect the Supreme Court. If they tell me to bring him back, I'll do it. But now he's saying, they just said facilitate. They didn't say bring it back. So he's using the legal system
Wow.
To say I misunderstood.
I kind of wonder if he not getting backdoor calls from people like Alito and Clarence Thomas telling him, well, you know, we did say facilitate. I mean, like, are they? I kind of wonder.
His lawyers know from the minute that they read that,
The
because
loophole.
they're going to take the
Yeah.
whole thing, and he's going to say, figure out a way to get around this. And he's got lawyers that can. I could have figured that out when it said facilitate, that it did not say bring them back. So he figured, look, bring me something that uses this, you know what I'm saying, to either buy us more time or get us to a position where they can just agree with us and we can move on.
So how do you respond? Because I see somebody in the comments is even saying this. You cannot force another country to send him back anyways. Do you? Because that's what Trump is saying, is I can't force them to send back one of their own citizens. How do you respond to that? Because that is what Trump is using as a defense, and he's going to likely use it in court.
He's not a citizen of El Salvador. He applied for citizenship in America, which means he's in the process of changing. Yes, he's
Venezuelan?
He's a resident.
What is
He's
he?
a resident and not a citizen.
Who is he? Is he Venezuelan?
No, he's from El Salvador, but he's not an El Salvadoran. Once you go into the system to ask to change your residency or your citizenship, like, the other country doesn't have control of you anymore.
So what is he?
That was the case.
So what is he currently stateless? He's a citizen of nowhere?
He's a resident in search of citizenship in America. He left El Salvador to get away from the gangs. That was the reason why.
I have not heard that. So if you leave America and you declare, let's say for instance, you know, you're running to Canada because they're treating you like shit in America. While your application is going through in Canada, you're saying you're no longer a citizen of America.
I'm saying that Canada cannot dictate anything about me. They as a citizen, because as a citizen, you would think that they could just come and get you, right?
I don't think I agree with you on the notion. Okay, if he was born in El Salvador and he was trying to seek asylum in America, I don't think that means you lose your citizenship in El Salvador. I think he's still a citizen of El Salvador.
Well, that would be more of an interpretation thing, I think. But I'm just thinking of it from the logical perspective. If the moment I cross into another country and I say I'm denouncing my citizenship from that country because of these reasons, and you accept me into that system, they no longer have control over.
Well, I'll tell you also too, some countries my guess is there's probably some countries out there that won't let you denounce your citizenship like that. I mean, you got to hope that you're in a country where they allow you to do that. Can you denounce your citizenship to North Korea?
Well, America doesn't recognize those countries' rights once you join our immigration system.
Right, but let's say, for instance, let's say you left North Korea and you migrated to America, and you know, a few years later you decided to visit Russia or something crazy like that, a country that does have a relationship with North Korea, and they wanted you back. North Korea, you know, he defected, he may have had military secret, we want him back. I believe they can take you back. I mean, I don't think every country.
I mean, you're making more of a count. Now you're talking about national security and all.
I mean, I'm just simply saying I don't know if every country will allow you to denounce your citizenship. Let's say you being military. Let's take it from the national security role. If you fled America, what was it, Eric Snowden or some of them folks like that? Can you leave your citizenship behind, and if that country wants you back, can't they still get you?
I don't know. We getting deep into the immigration standards and stuff, because you know, we have the ability to just say no, we're not going to give this person back if they meet certain criteria of our country. Is Eric Snowden still a citizen of the United States?
I don't know where he's at. Last I heard, he was in Ecuador. He's been bounced all over the place. I don't know where.
Snowden is in Russia. You thinking about old boy from WikiLeaks? I'm talking about Eric Snowden.
Oh, I have no clue where he's at. But it's not
He's
a
in
good.
Russia. He's living in Russia.
Oh, it's not a good place to be hanging out with Steven Seagal, I guess. Okay, real quick before I move it on, Liberation Day. You think that Trump is on a path to victory with these tariff wars?
Well, I mean, he's pretty much capitulated on over half of them, probably more than half of them, and he's talking about making more carve-outs for for drugs and for pharmaceuticals and for vehicles. Now, if he goes on this path, he makes carve-outs for everything that we need. What's the point of the damn tariff?
Right. And my guess is those countries will be like, if you either gonna tariff us, you're not. We're not gonna let you exclude the shit that favors you. Either you want to,
Right.
if you want to have a relationship with us, we have one. You're not gonna play this game because it does. You're right when you use the word capitulate. It does look like he's caving. I mean, there's no way it doesn't look like that. He's made so many changes over the last week or so that it makes it clear you realize you done fucked up in so many areas and you're having to undo this stuff.
He would have been better off doing what I've been saying to you the whole time. Is why not just do targeted tariffs on those specific items and not just say the whole world we're gonna tariff you and then we're gonna carve out a couple of areas where we benefit. That's not a winning formula. It sounds like it because he's saying everybody's calling me, trying to kiss my ass. Yes, every country we do business with would be stupid not to call and say, "Hey, what can we work out?" That would be incompetence on any leader to just say, "Screw it." Yeah. Especially the ones who don't have the power like China does to match our gangster.
Well, based on what China has done, they could probably take a page out of Lyndon Johnson's book. I'm going to have these Negroes voting against tariffs for the next 200 years. I got to move it on, though. But it does look like, based on Trump's actions, Americans are not going to want anything to do with tariffs for a very long time if this continues going along the path it's going.
I just want to say one quick thing to the MAGA people on here who keep saying, "Oh, they're going to need us before we need them," and this and that. It's not about who's going to end up bending in the end. It's about the damage done to society while they playing their game. So, yeah, eventually, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 2 years, China decides they had too much. But guess what that means for us?
Yep.
We gonna suffer in them 2 years too.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
Everybody acting like they can't see anything because we haven't actually seen the people start changing the prices yet. But it's coming. It's coming.
Undoubtedly. Could not agree with you more, Denkel. Thank you for coming through.
All right, take care.
You too. All right, looking in the comments, I see somebody said, William House says, damaged like open border for 4 years. No, it's going to be way worse than that. Way worse than that. I'm not a fan of the way Biden handled the border, but in terms of how much that damaged the average American citizen, the tariffs are going to be significantly worse than that. They're significantly worse than that because the price of everything you buy is going to go up. There are plenty of Americans over the last 4 years that did not experience any damage to their life at all due to Biden's border policies. That did not affect everybody. If you lived in a border town, maybe so, with so many immigrants coming across your property, or if you lived in a big city like Chicago or New York where Governor Greg Abbott of Texas sent them, yeah, but for the most part, a large portion of America did not have any issue with folks coming into the country. If you lived in rural Kansas, you weren't dealing with a huge influx of illegal immigrants. It just didn't affect you. You may have had a few of them in your town, but they weren't hanging around and, committing crimes and indulging in all kinds of entitlements. It just wasn't like that. I do believe the tariffs will be far more damaging to the pocketbook of the average American than the immigration problem ever was. But maybe I'm wrong. Real quick in the comments, the dead kid's father was charged. He's talking about Austin Metcalf saying his dad was charged with sexual assault. So all fathers in the home right-wing bullshit goes out the window. Oh, he said, now, I don't know if the father has anything to do with this, but you're suggesting that because the father was charged with sexual assault, it goes against the right-wing notion that having a father in the home produces a better child. I'll submit this to you. I do believe a two-parent household is better than a one-parent household, but you can do everything right by your children and still produce a fucked up kid. Sometimes it's just in the kid's mentality. Sometimes the kid just falls by the wayside in terms of maybe somebody in the street may have a bigger influence on your child than you do, even though you're trying to do everything that's right. Every child that gets pregnant at 15 or commits a major felony at, in the teenage years is not a product of a single family home. Some of these kids do have both parents. I mean, sometimes it just happens. Either way, we have a constitutional crisis, and there's a lot of folks that are agreeing with that. He has a green card, and the process is if you want to become a citizen, you have to denounce the previous country. So you're agreeing with Dencal on that. If you want to become a citizen of America, I guess that kind of makes sense. If you're seeking asylum in America, why would you want to maintain the citizenship from the country you're claiming your life is in danger in? You shouldn't have any problem giving it up. I guess that does make sense. I didn't know. I'm not an immigration attorney. Never needed it, but, well, yeah, I did. I needed it when I moved to Australia. Anyway, looking in the comments, I see in the MDL says not true. Well, it makes sense, though. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm going to say it makes sense, though. If you're trying to seek asylum from El Salvador, Venezuela, and you want to become you want to get a green card, and you're on your way to become an American citizen, why do you want to maintain citizenship to a country that you're saying is a threat and you need to leave? I don't think anybody that's trying to seek asylum would probably turn down the ability to enter the United States because they want to if you want to maintain that country's citizenship, just go back there. So I don't know. I don't know for certain, though, but you can have dual citizenship, says Kim. So some folks are disagreeing. Like I said, I'm not an immigration attorney, but it does make some sense, though, in terms of a pushback. Folks are saying that if you want to seek asylum in America, you can't have dual citizenship for the country you came from. To me, it does make sense, though, to say that if you think that country is that dangerous, why are you trying to hold on to citizenship there? But maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't know anything about immigration at that level. Okay, let's use that logic on the entire black population in America, says Cookie Monster. I'd like to know what you're talking about. What logic are you referring to? You're being delusional, Tim. I went from California to New York, and those scooters, no clue what that means. No clue. All right, let me go back to the box. A lot of folks are saying you could have dual citizenship. So, Will, you might be wrong on that. And didn't Cal? A lot of folks in the comments are saying you can have dual citizenship. Except No Reply says you have to renounce the previous country. In that country, add another. You says you have to renounce the previous country. In that country, add an American embassy. You cannot renounce the previous country from American soil. So you have to, so you go to an American embassy and you renounce your citizenship for whatever country you're leaving while you're in the embassy. And then the Americans take you in their custody, and then that's where you began your life in America, hopefully. I don't know. Work in your own damn country, says Papa. Now, what if you can't find work in your own country? That's kind of why they're trying to come here. Let me go back to the box. I know plenty of people that have dual citizenship, says Arsha. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, but how about I ask? Arsha, you're talking about dual citizenship. So you do, but do you know people who try to request asylum that still have dual citizenship?
No.
Yeah, because you can have dual citizenship from Australia, where I went. You can have that. You can have it from the UK.
I know people that have dual citizenship with Canada, dual citizenship with Ireland, dual citizenship with Saudi Arabia, dual citizenship with Mexico. So yes, it is. It's a thing. I think it probably depends on the country. I don't know anybody that has dual citizenship, for example, from China. I don't know if that's...
I don't think that's allowed anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if that is in America it is a thing that you're able to have. I know people that have dual citizenship from, South Korea. So I know,
Yeah, from what I can tell,
I think it depends on who the allies are.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. From what I can tell, it's the countries we're pretty friendly with. Like, you're not going to have dual citizenship from Russia or Belarus. It's just not going to happen. I doubt if you can get it from the Ukraine now. But yeah, if you're talking, Eastern, Western European countries, NATO countries and stuff like that, probably more so. But them are not the countries you're going to try to, request asylum from. Most of those countries, you're fine where you're at.
I know plenty of people from Canada. I know plenty of people from all around the world that live here in the United States, that, chose to, mainly because of the workforce, right? Maybe innovation or tech.
Yeah, but they weren't struggling in Canada. Like when I moved to Australia, for a time I actually planned on staying there permanently. But it wasn't because I was struggling in the US. I just was enjoying myself in Australia. I'm talking about when these people are claiming asylum, they're talking about their lives are in danger.
Yeah, I mean, I have never met a Canadian that says that their lives are better here.
Really? Wow. I mean, well, it depends on when you talk about I guess they come here.
I mean, because we're talking about healthcare and some of the what do they call incentives or things that people
Entitlements.
Entitlements is another word, which I hate that word, but
social programs. You could say social programs.
The incentives or the entitlements that you get abroad are much better than what you get here. So they're not here because of the healthcare.
If you're in a position of becoming extremely wealthy, America, in my opinion, is a far better place because America's set up so that you're not going to have to worry about being forced to share your wealth. Let's say you are a millionaire or on your way to becoming a billionaire and you don't want to share, or at the very least, you don't want to be forced to share. America's a good country to be in for that. But if you are part of the working class where you maybe living check to check or slightly above that and you never know if you're going to fall on your face, America's not a good country to be in because if you fall on your face, America's not going to do a lot to help you back up. So it depends on where you're at on the economic scale.
So to all of the people that I know that have dual citizenship, whether they're I can't say too much, but whether they're working for the government or here on their own business adventures, because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. None of them has said, I wish my country adopted, well, except for my Saudi Arabian friend, but he's now an American citizen. Of course, everybody, if you're in Saudi Arabia, you want them to have, there's no freedom there. But as far as like the Western world and, democratic things, like I haven't yet to have met a human that has said, I really wish my country would take up some of your.
I haven't either. Yeah, I agree with that. When I lived in Australia, I met lots of Europeans, and you're right, New Zealanders. I met, and you're right. I never met anybody that looked at the United States as a country that was better than theirs. It's almost always developing in third world.
Right, and it's not to say that their governments are perfect. They just might be a bit better.
I think it's the social programs. I actually think it's the social programs you talked about because the average person working is not that far off from falling on their face. And these other countries have a safety net. So if something happens to you, you're not going to be homeless or you're not going to lose your health care. And in America, we do not have that safety net. You can literally be right on the street uninsured.
And then there's the other thing of like, what does it mean to be a criminal? Are we going to educate these people, or are we going to put them in a cage? Putting people in cages isn't going to make them be better people of society when they return, right? Where
as some of the other countries like Finland, you know, European. I mean, obviously we're not going to use North Korea or Russia as that one, but you know, they want to make sure that the citizens come out with some sort of humanity and you know, well-being to be a betterment of society. And I don't think that we do that here. We encourage.
Yeah, you can, when you incarcerate somebody, you can focus on one or two things: either recidivism, which is making that person eventually become a more responsible civilian or citizen, or you can focus on punishment, which is making sure that they pay for their crime in as harsh a way as possible. In America, we focus more on the punishment than we do on reducing recidivism. So yeah, you're right.
And we also focus on the hopes that they return, because that's where the money is.
Yeah. For private prisons, that absolutely is the case. Before I move it on from you, this Carmelo Anthony thing. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
Yeah, I only kind of learned about this Carmelo Anthony thing from you and the TikTok viewers, because it's just not showing up much where I live. So I think what I've learned last time I was on the live was black young male, white young male, they're at an event.
Yeah, you don't listen. If you clearly don't know enough about it. We'll leave it at that. Before I move to the tariff war, you think Trump is going to win it? I won't ask you to speak on Carmelo Anthony. You clearly don't know enough about it to really give a decent opinion on that. But
yeah, I don't. Yeah.
You think is Trump going to win the tariff war? I don't know if she dropped. Okay, I'm moving on. Apparently something happened there. Anyway, tap the screen. Get me on up to about 60,000 on the likes. You guys know how the program is ran. We don't block, ban, or censor. We are MAGA friendly. Always been that way, always will. I'm taking a beating, an absolute beating on YouTube horizontal. I just wanted to read a few comments if I could see them. Man, the criticism is coming in heavy, and I appreciate the input. You can be critical of the host. Somebody said, if you don't know nothing about politics, stop talking about it. Well, here's one. You remember the guy from Lethal Weapon with diplomatic immunity? Yeah, I do remember that. Mel Gibson shot him in the face when he said, I got diplomatic immunity. No, that was Danny Glover shot him. Said it revoked. Yeah, I remember that. Here you go, bro. Stop talking politics if you don't know the full something. A lot of. I'm getting beat up on there. Okay, fair enough. I do appreciate the input though. Complicating simple things. That's ignorance. Well, I would tell you the way Trump is handling bringing back Kilmar Garcia from El Salvador. He's doing it intentionally, complicating simple things as he's talking about facilitating and reinterpreting the word. Let me go back onto the comment section, though. The white women, most privileged person on earth, crying how bad America is. Damn. White women are the most privileged people on earth? Really? Goodness, got to get your white women on. Saying you are seeking asylum doesn't mean you are. There is a due process for seeking asylum. You are so big on due process. Yeah, I am big on due process. That's kind of what was happening under Biden. You come in to a port of entry, you tell them you want to apply for asylum, and they would give you a court date, and they would just let you gallivant through the country in hopes that you return on that court date. Now, I know MAGA believes that they're never going to show up. They're just going to become an illegal immigrant. And probably that's true for a lot of them. But that is how due process works. You claim you want to seek asylum, and then they give you a court date for when you can come in and present your information, and I guess a judge would have made the decision then. Once Trump became president, though, all of the folks that came in seeking asylum instantly became fugitives. Under Biden, coming in and seeking asylum was a legal point of entry, a legal way to come to this country. So keep that in mind when folks tell you, I'm okay with immigrants, just come legally, do it the right way. Seeking asylum under Biden was the right way. Trump became president and they all became fugitives. So no, it's a little bit more than just come the right way. There's other things they don't like, such as Biden gave a lot of the Venezuelans and Cubans, TPS, temporary protected, if I'm pronouncing that right, protected status. Trump came in and removed that. So all of a sudden, all of these folks that were legal immigrants trying to finagle their way through the courts to get their green card or whatever, they instantly became fugitives when Trump came here. So a lot of the idea that come legally and you're okay, no, that's absolutely not true. A lot of legal migrants suddenly became fugitives once Trump became president. But you'll leave your border open, says Bird Brain. Is that Nikki Haley in the comments? Bird Brain? All right, let me go back to the box. I don't know what I missed there. Tap the screen. Get me on up to 55,000. I'll take the next caller at that. Seeking asylum has always been the right way. Yeah, that's always been around. Under Trump, I don't think you can seek asylum at all right now, can you? I think he eliminated that completely. And you are correct, Arshafine, that coming into America and claiming asylum has been around forever. Way before anything Biden came up with, that's always been there. I think Trump has pretty much gotten rid of that. I mean, it's almost right now. Certainly, if you're coming into the country from south of the border, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to do that legally. It's almost impossible. Real quick, make sure. Damn mugshot Trump, damn mugshot Trump, you right. I don't know what that means there, Aaron. Let me make sure I got my screen here before we go to the next caller here. Don't know what okay, there we go. It's a yes and a no for citizenship. No, you don't have to renounce your current citizenship to become an American citizen through naturalization. Yeah, that's a complicated subject. I just don't know. And certainly now that we got Trump in office, a lot of things that used to be legal or used to be operating in one way are now gone. I mean, Trump has completely changed how or even if you can come to this country. So it's really hard to say anything. Albrega Garcia illegally immigrated to the United States in 2011 at the age of 16. That is true. Here's one of the things I will ask. And by the way, give me up to 55,000. We take the next caller at that. Albrega Garcia, they're claiming he's a gangbanger and all of this shit. He came in the country in 2011 at the age of 16. 16 is when you're the most impressionable as a gang member. If you're a gang member committing capers, this is the age you're going to be doing all of that shit. 2011, so that's 14 years ago. This guy should have a serious rap sheet. If he still is currently an MS-13 gang member now, 14 years later, he should have a serious rap sheet. Notice they're not telling you any crimes he committed. It just doesn't make sense that all of these MS-13 gang members that they're not producing any rap sheet for. Where are all the crimes that Garcia committed? He just joined MS-13 and decided to keep going to school every day? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. It seems like they should be able to at least produce some evidence. Cause and effect, says Burberry. El Salvador leader is hilarious. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the U.S.? I don't know what you're meaning by that. I'll tell you this, though. All of the days of watching Ducey make a mockery of Karine St. Pierre, whatever her name was, the black woman that spoke on behalf of the Biden administration. All for naught. They let Ducey ask all sorts of tough gotcha questions to the Biden administration. You ask anything even remotely tough to the Trump administration, and they won't even let you ask a question again. They just ban you from showing up. Now, I'm certain, and I think Obama stated this himself, that if they had done that, the right would have been furious. And so we're just playing different ball now. I mean, you can't even ask a tough question and guarantee you'll ever be back again because they just don't let you ask shit. They tore her apart today, Caitlin Collins of CNN. Anyway, looking in the comments, most gangster leaders have no records. So now we don't went from Kilmar Garcia is a MS-13 member to now he's a leader? Most gang leaders have no criminal records, huh? God. Well, then where's the proof? Where's the proof he was in the gang? Didn't they just arrest someone claiming that he was an MS-13 leader of the entire East Coast? And then they dropped the charges? I'm just going to say it like this. Due process would clear a lot of this shit up. It would make Trump look a lot better in the eyes of Americans that don't want gang members and violent people in the country either. Even a lot of liberals don't want gang members in the country. But when you're just claiming all of this shit and proving nothing, and let's face it, Trump does have a history of exaggerating on stuff. It's not like everything he said has been true. It just seems like there's a reason why they're not proving things and giving them due process, because some of it's probably not true. Tim, you never seen proof under Biden or Obama. Now you want proof. I don't know if anything Biden or Obama was doing that comes even close to sending people to some horrible prison in a foreign country. I just don't know. I don't know anything close to what Biden or Obama were doing to suggest they were saving us billions, if not trillions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. Yeah, proof. Is that wrong? So in other words, well, you let Obama get away with it, so let Trump get away with it too. I think that's the argument you're making. Going back to the box, Will G, thank you for that. But the yes is in the oath of allegiance, is legally binding. Promises individuals make during a naturalization ceremony to pledge loyalty to the United States and renounce any prior allegiance to other countries. So yeah, I guess if you pledge allegiance to America, you can't have allegiance to two countries at once. I guess that's what you're trying to say. I do believe they actually do that. Because if you got dual citizenship, can the other country, let's say for instance, let's say you're born in Mexico, but you come to America to get your green card and you're seeking residency or whatever. If Mexico goes to war, can they draft you back? Be curious to know. I know a lot of Israelis left a bunch of countries to go back after October 7th, but that was I think it was voluntarily. I don't know if they actually forcibly did it. I don't know. Like I said, it's a challenging subject. MAGA reacts. Good evening, MAGA.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, man. Complicated subject there on the immigration, but Trump claiming he cannot bring this guy back. Do you believe that?
I mean, he's a citizen of El Salvador. Like, how is he going to take a citizen from his own country and bring him back without their permission? Like, Trump has
worked magic before. I mean, he brought people back from North Korea. He's brought people back from Russia. You really think he cannot get this guy back?
These were American citizens. This guy.
Yeah, but he's sitting next to this dude in the White House. No deal can be made or anything.
I mean, it's on the president of El Salvador more than Trump. So I'm sure he could buy him back. Or, I'm sure he could make a deal for it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but why would he?
Let me ask this question, because Trump is also suggesting that he might send American criminals down to El Salvador. If he can't get people back, I mean, is it possible that if you commit a violent felony in America and he sends you to El Salvador, you may be lost to that country?
I'm not really sure about the rules of that one. I told you if it's done, it's probably done voluntarily or somehow. Like, I don't know. I gotta see what the Supreme Court says about it, because I really don't know.
But does this seem like typical Trump, where he has a working relationship with the president of El Salvador, such a strong relationship that he brought him to the Oval Office, and he couldn't get this one guy back if he wanted?
He doesn't want to bring him back. I mean, Trump could at this point, I believe Trump could make a deal for anything.
Okay.
But, this guy is a citizen of this country. I don't even know why he's in jail. Like, why is he in their jail? Is that how much of, I know that they arrested all the gang members that lived in that country. So did he just get arrested with them?
Well, the Trump administration is claiming he has no citizenship in America, which I believe is true. And they just deported him. And I don't think they give a damn where he goes. I mean, even if it is to a place like that, they sent 200 and some people down there. They haven't proved any of those folks. In fact, I heard 90% of the people they've sent to El Salvador, that prison down there, have no criminal history at all.
Well, deportation has nothing to do with criminal history. Like
Then why they going to prison?
Well, that's on El Salvador. Like they should have just released them, but they wanted to imprison them. I really don't. If I thought originally he was Venezuelan, so I was on your side with that earlier when I thought he was Venezuelan. I was like, you should bring him back because he's in your custody. That's your responsibility.
But doesn't that
fit his home country? Then no.
But doesn't that fit Doesn't that fit the definition of why you would file asylum due to persecution? Let's say, for instance, I'm an American citizen and my government, let's say they don't like me because I'm black or because I'm a man or a transgender, whatever the case may be, and they're trying to throw me in jail for something that there's no reason I should be in jail for at all. So I go to another country seeking asylum in that country saying that my country is trying to persecute me. Is he not, even according to you, having no reason to be in prison, is he not being persecuted in his own country?
I mean, maybe he is. I from what I understand, they arrested all like MS-13 members, even guilty or not. They just arrested them all and put them in jail. That's how they cleaned up their streets, and now it's like one of the safest countries to be in. And
you know for a fact, just like in this country where they gave them no due process, you know there's some innocent guys in those jails. You know there are.
No. Yeah, that's my point. But do you want to be the one giving asylum to gang members just because they're being persecuted in their own country?
Well, that's a good question. Let's say, for instance, now this guy is in his 30s, I guess, because he came here at 16 in 2011. So so he would be 30 years old. Let's say, for instance, he was a verifiable gang member from the age of 14, maybe to 20, and you haven't, and from 20, he's worked out. Do you want to punish him as a gang member for the rest of his life because he has a tattoo?
No, not necessarily, but the fact that he's a El Salvador citizen makes it very complicated because it's not our laws, it's their laws we have to figure out.
No, you don't. If he's seeking asylum due to persecution if he's saying I need to get in your country because they're going to persecute me in my country and put me in prison for life over some bullshit, their laws no longer matter. You're deciding if he is worthy of giving asylum to. You don't go by their laws if their laws are essentially inhumane.
But we denied it and sent him back. I mean, he was denied way before Trump, wasn't he?
No.
That's the reason he doesn't have.
No, he actually. No, that's a good point. In 2019, a judge actually ruled that he could not be returned to El Salvador. So a judge actually sided with him that El Salvador was not safe for him to go to.
Yeah, I think this is where the problem happened. I think when he did that, he made him. He basically labeled him an MS-13 member.
Who?
Like, I think I figured it out. Like, he probably labeled him an MS-13 member and used it as an excuse not to send him back to El Salvador because he would automatically go to jail. So it helped him out at that time, but now it's hurting him because he's labeled as MS-13 member in our system.
Yeah, well,
even though I'm with you. He might not be one at all, but he probably used it as an excuse to get asylum here.
No, you don't have to use I'm an MS-13 member to get asylum. You would state that my country is using draconian punishments against MS-13 members, and they wrongfully think I'm one, and they want to do it to me.
He probably took the lazy way and just said he was because it was just easier than to say.
Why the hell would you try to come to America and say I need to get in? I'm an MS-13 member. I guarantee he didn't try that. That would make no sense. Why would you come?
I bet you he did because you're thinking like he's an American with a complete understanding of the law. You're talking about a foreign person with a probably like a free lawyer trying to navigate this shit. Like, my dad used to copy and paste asylum stories for all his friends, and how lazy he was with it, I can imagine that easily happening.
You know where the problem arises? It wasn't that he was an MS-13 member. The problem arises when they didn't give him due process, because they had to give him due process. A lot of the questions you and I are having back and forth, would have went between the government and his defense counsel. These questions would have been answered and discussed in front of a judge, and the judge would have had a chance to decide whether they're making a case. When you don't give him due process, all of the ifs and whats and I don't knows come out to play because the Trump administration just essentially deemed him as guilty until, well, he don't even have the ability to prove he's innocent. So just guilty, period.
Due process is for when you commit a crime and you're trying to put him in jail. You got to give him due process.
No.
Immigration's a whole different game.
That's not true. No, that's not true. Due process is anytime the government tries to do anything to you, you having a way to defend yourself. It ain't got to be charged with a crime. I mean, they could be trying to kick you out of your house. I mean, anytime they're trying to do something to you, you should have your day in court. They should not be able to just do anything they want to you. That's what due process is.
I don't know. I still don't think that works for immigration like you think it does. But
so if I'm in the actually it does. I mean, I'll give you an example. Every year in this country, Americans running from Americans, natural-born American citizens, no immigration in this at all. People who are born and raised in this country try to run from criminal cases they've created for themselves, whether they're running from their local police, state police, federal government, U.S. Marshals, or whatever. And they often run into Mexico or run into Canada. America's Most Wanted used to feature them all the damn time. Every time they get caught, they get due process. Every time. So I don't know why all of a sudden when we're catching criminals in our country, they don't get due process. The Mexicans and Canadians and all other countries too, people get caught in France and all these other countries. Every time an American gets caught in a different country that they've entered illegally, they get due process. Why the hell did we all of a sudden stop giving due process to people?
Again, I think they have extradition hearings, but those are
that's due process. That is due process.
What do they need to prove? Do they need to prove the person is guilty, or do they just need to prove that he's a citizen of America and America could extradite him?
You're proving your case. Whatever you're trying to prove.
Until proven guilty, how are they even proving their case? But they don't prove their case in Mexico before they bring you here for trial.
Let's say, for instance, here's what I'm saying.
Jurisdiction to try him.
Here's what I'm saying. If you were running from the U.S. government because they, let's say they accuse you of murder or something, and they wanted to impose capital punishment on you, and you had not had a proper court date, and you running into Mexico or whatever, when it comes up to your extradition hearing, you can bring that up, and it's possible. I don't know what the likelihood of it or not is, but it's possible.
A whole hearing in Mexico, whether you're guilty or not of murder before they bring you on.
Yeah, that's what seeking asylum is. That's exactly what it is my country is treating me unfairly, and it's not safe for me to go back. That's exactly what asylum claims are.
You're kind of convoluting an asylum hearing with an extradition hearing. Those are two different things. I mean, they might be related, and again, I'm not an expert, but I can't imagine, you have to do a full hearing just to extradite somebody, because, trust me, it would take forever. And I know that extradition doesn't take that long.
You're taking people, MAGA, and accusing them of being an MS-13 member, in some cases holding them in some kind of jail facility indefinitely. Some of these people have been held for 30, 40 days before I guess you're working on some type of deportation hearing. And you're telling me they don't deserve due process or anything.
I mean, I don't know what the case involves. It
involves him spending 30 days behind bars.
No, that's not what I meant. Does it involve you have to prove murder? You have to prove probable cause? You have to prove that you have jurisdiction over the person? I mean, every kind of case.
You gotta prove why you're.
You have to prove that they're 100% guilty to extradite them.
You gotta prove why you're keeping them incarcerated.
What do you mean? No, these people haven't been tried yet, so you're trying to extradite them back to America, so they're innocent until you take them to America and prove them guilty. So what do you have to do? What do you have to tell Mexico what do you have to tell Mexico to get them back to America so you could try them and prove them guilty?
Well,
if you have to prove them guilty in Mexico, I'm just sure You probably just have to prove either probable cause,
Yeah,
that you have
you.
enough evidence to charge them, or that you just have jurisdiction over them.
Well,
And
what you're proving in Mexico is that if they come back to America, they will have due process. If you're running from the law in America and you get caught in Mexico, when they send you back, they feel confident that you're going to have a day in court. They don't believe that if you go back to America, they can just throw you in prison for the rest of your life. That's what's happening in El Salvador. Them people are not getting a court date. The minute you get off the plane, you go straight to prison, and nobody gives a damn if you're guilty or not. You're just going straight from deportation to incarceration.
like, I think we're doing a lot of guessing here.
No, that's what's happening. They're on video, getting off the plane, handcuffed, shackled, their heads are pushed down, going right to the prison. And there's no speculation. They're showing you they're doing it.
But if you believe even here, if they were criminals, you put them in prison. And
No, they don't get a court date.
they
MAGA, they're
get
not getting a court. MAGA, there is no court date. They're not going to ever get one.
Again, I don't know El Salvador process. I don't know what they do, and I don't know why we're even debating this, because there's so much nuance in all of this that neither of us know enough to cover.
We're debating it because we are sending people into that soup. As you say, we don't know what's going to happen. We are literally sending people into a process where they're not going to get any due process at all. They're going straight off the plane to a notorious maximum security prison. We do know that.
Then why are we even doing any business with this country whatsoever? Like, you want to just do a ban against all business with El Salvador because they're inhumane?
Well, because they kind of are doing our bidding, MAGA. We want these immigrants to be treated like shit and treated in an inhumane way. We sought out the El Salvadorans. They didn't seek us out. We sought them out and decided to pay them. If you treat our people like shit, treat our immigrants like shit, we'll give you money to do it. We sought them out. That's why it's happening. The Trump administration wants them treated like that.
I mean, it's a very good deterrent. I see the point of it being like that, but I don't know. I really don't know. This is like so much beyond like what I've looked into, and I mostly got on here to talk about the dual citizen thing. If you ever leave America, even if you denounce your citizenship, you still gotta pay like taxes for 10 years.
I know.
And to officially denounce your citizenship, you actually have to go to a embassy overseas and do a bunch of shit, and it has to be like approved.
Yeah.
It's like a whole process. It's not like
I know about it. Yeah, I know I had to pay tax. Yeah.
I'm not Venezuelan or El Salvador.
I went through it myself personally. Tina Turner did what you're talking about. She was gone for 20 years, and she decided she was tired of paying taxes in America. She was living in Switzerland, married over there, the rock star Tina Turner. She did that. I got to move it on, but yeah, I paid taxes when I was gone those 5 or 6 years, so I do know what you're talking about. MAGA, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, I wish I was more insightful. I guess I wasn't really that ready for today. My bad.
Maybe tomorrow. Appreciate it. Yeah, all right, moving on with the program. It is the final step to becoming a U.S. citizen. Yeah, immigration is complicated. And like I said, I believe that what Trump is doing is only making it more so because he is not going by tradition, following a lot of the rules. Everything is going up to the Supreme Court. He's not, I mean, he's making it, because really Trump's goal is to, for the most part, get everybody out. If you don't have a green card, and I said this on plenty of my lives leading up to the election, that I was believing that if you do not have citizenship, by the time Trump becomes president, you are not safe. I don't give a fuck how legal you've been doing things. If you don't have citizenship, by the time he becomes president, you are not safe. I wish I could bring that clip up to play over and over again, because damn was I right. Damn was I right. If you don't have citizenship, I don't want to hear all this coming legal and illegal shit. If you don't have citizenship, you are not safe. A lot of folks are learning that the hard way, because some of their relatives and all that actually voted for him, and they're learning it the hard way. Like temporary protected status. They didn't think they were going to get kicked out. They weren't committed. Trump made it sound like it was going to be rapists and murderers that had to go, gang members that had to go. The scope is way wider than that. Not to mention, you don't have to be a gang member to be called one, because they don't have to prove you are one. certain body tattoos. What would happen to Pete Hegseth if he was an immigrant with those tattoos? What do you think they would do to him? It is because Pete Hegseth tattoos were misrepresented by the left. Anybody can look at your tattoo and see something that may not be there. A tattoo. That's all it takes. Here's one. Before I go back to the box, how many Hispanics do you think in this country? This is it's comical if it wasn't so sad, but how many Hispanics do you believe in this country that probably had tattoos removed in the last few months? Literally went to tattoo removal places to have shit removed from their body. You got to assume that's pretty common at this point with what's going on. Any tattoo on your body, you probably got a whole lot of Hispanics that got scars all over their body from tattoos they had removed. In the comments, and tap the screen, get me on up to 75. Take the next caller. Tap the screen, get the likes up. Looking in the comments, I thought I saw something there. I don't know what I saw there. Okay, before we go to the next caller, I want to make sure I didn't miss any chats there. Will says you can be a dual citizen, but you can't serve two masters. So how does that work? I mean, what happens if, like I said, a war or something break out? Can they yank you from this country? You called a political show and complain that you don't know enough to talk about it. Sean Herbert says you're called a political show and complain that you don't know enough to talk about it. Well, I do stand by the notion that this is a political show. I think the difference is that the host, talking about yours truly, is willing to admit I'm not a know-it-all, which is why I enjoy talking to folks from all sides of the aisle. That's why I said we go left of Bernie Sanders to having dinner with Q. I have the solemn belief that you should never find yourself in a position where you think you know every damn thing and there's no more to learn. So there's a hell of a lot of topics I don't know everything about, which is why I enjoy talking to you folks. You know political shows where the host knows everything? You show me a political show where the host knows everything, and I'll show you a political show where the host is lying to you quite often. Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything. I can tell you so many folks from Sean Hannity on down that misrepresented what Trump was going to do once he became president. How many folks would have guessed he was going to impose a tariff war to the extent he did? And I'm talking about a guy who talked about tariffs constantly while he was campaigning. Did you think he was going to be talking about 145% increase on Chinese goods? You didn't guess that shit. So no one knows every damn thing. Did you expect him to try to take Greenland? Make Canada the 51st state? Did he campaign on that? Nobody knows every damn thing. And I see in the comments First Watch is stating, yes, you were aware he was going to take Greenland, huh? Okay. All right, First Watch, then you are the one person that knows everything. Because I don't recall any campaign rally where Trump was talking about taking Greenland. I don't recall him seeing anything. Willis, you don't read, do you? You're like Trump. In the comments, somebody said that. I 100% knew. He been said that since the 1990s. He hasn't been talking about taking all these countries at the same time. I don't recall hearing him say it. I watched plenty of Trump rallies. Hell, I've been to a couple of them. I don't recall hearing a bunch of rhetoric about taking over Greenland. I just, making Gaza, our country owning Gaza. You believe he ran on that too? Owning Gaza and turning it into the Riviera of the Middle East. He talked about ending that war in 24 hours, not claiming ownership of Gaza. Yeah, okay. If you've seen all of that, I'd like to see the clips. Because Trump rallies are all over the internet. I would love to see the clips where he was saying that before becoming president. Going back to the box, we'll continue on with Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, Gangsta. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Felipe. How you doing?
What about today?
You feel because I said, let me tell you something. With your cupcaking with the black niggas. What the hell? Telling her how much respect you got for them. Same motherfuckers gonna beat your ass or stab you in the back and sell us out.
You think?
Yeah, I see you and all the lies cupcaking. Boy,
okay.
you cupcaking bad.
Let me clear for the folks who don't know what you're talking about. Anytime you guys, if any of you folks see me on social media and I'm not doing my own show, I'm generally interacting with MAGA, often black MAGA, as she's suggesting, because I like talking to MAGA. I don't go in a lot of liberal lies. I just like to chop it up. So I'm generally in MAGA feedbacks. I really love talking to MAGA. She is stating.
I like you. Oh, I respect you. What's his name? What's the maggot? The black maggot.
AJ?
No, I can't. Not that little fat. Oh God, I can't.
You just don't like black MAGA. You just don't like black
MAGA. I don't
MAGA.
like black MAGA at all. They like raccoons, majorly.
Jesus.
They raccoons. They are. They're sellouts. They want to be white so bad they like to bend over for the white man. I'm telling you, the black MAGA wants to go to their barbecue.
Was it lumberjack? Lumberjack?
Lumberjack. What's his name? It's Snacks.
Oh.
That little fruit motherfucker Snacks. Oh, I respect you. I respect. What the fuck you respect Snacks for? Motherfucker, a sellout.
Okay, I did not say I respect Snacks. I told him. Okay, all right. I told him he's the one that got me inspired to do this, and I respect that. So, but I know Snacks was in there. He was in there. So
Snacks is a sellout. To AJ, the fucking sellout. Oh, we're gonna make America great again. Come from a black man. We're gonna make America great again. Oh, yeah, he wants to be white so bad.
Can you be black MAGA and not be a sellout?
How does that work? Break that to me. How's that
work? Maybe you want a secure border. Maybe you want a better economy than Biden did.
I'm so sick of the maggots saying that the border wasn't secure. The border's always been secure. Do you know that Biden don't be bragging? Biden don't be bragging. He had more deportations under Biden than we do now. Pookie. Ray.
Trump has only been in office for 2.5 months, though.
Trump has done so much more bullshit than I've ever seen. Now, what they call Sleepy Joe did. At least we can fucking sleep at night.
I got first watching the comments. He's black MAGA. He seems to disagree with.
And he's a sellout. Ray? He's a sellout. He likes to bend over the white man. He probably loses calories. He got that protein all over his mouth, dripping. I disrespect their asses. I ain't gonna lie. You ain't my kid, fuck, bitch. You ain't coming to my damn barbecue. You go to the spoiled ass mayonnaise barbecue.
Protein all over their mouth and it's dripping.
Yes. They sell out. They a complete sellout.
No possibility that they voted for Trump because they like his economy over Biden.
Okay. What economy? He's destroying the economy. He's going against the other nation that's going to match us head to head.
What about
you talking about, Willis?
What about the idea that under Biden we had a president that didn't even know where the hell he was most of the time, and that Trump is?
He didn't know where he was, but he was doing more shit for us than this little twit that we got that lost 20 pounds, probably bent over, digging in the ass. You know what I mean? That's how he lost it.
Who lost
exercise?
Who lost 20 pounds?
That's what they said the little orange orangutan did. He lost him 20 pounds. Yeah, bending over to his bitch. That's where he lost it from.
You just seem like you really have Trump derangement syndrome. You really hate this guy, huh?
No, I can't stand the man because he's racist. He's racist. That's what he is. He's a racist.
The guy who claims he's done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln is a racist.
What has he done? Oh, please tell me what that motherfucker done. I can name all kinds of stuff what Joe Biden done.
Well, he's talking about...
Student loans. That's all about Biden. Come on, bring him on. CHIPS Act, manufacturing. See, he can't just do something just for black people. He does it for everybody.
What about the notion that Trump claims he gave millions to the HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities?
Are you serious?
This is what he claims.
Biden gave billions. Okay? The little orange orangutan.
Then I have to.
A couple of million.
Then if Biden did so much for the black community, Why the hell did the black vote for Trump actually increase?
Because they're special ed dropouts. They special ed dropouts. They're supposed to the black men. That's what did it. You know why? It's a black man that couldn't do shit. That was like, oh, I feel so bad. Oh, the black women are hardcore. Oh, they're masculine. No, bitch. No, bitch.
You know,
don't have no balls.
you
don't
do
have no
realize,
balls.
you
Yeah,
do realize,
huh?
you do realize the Hispanic male vote.
They just as bad. I'm not in the case now. No, they just as bad. They want to be white. A lot of Hispanics think they white anyways, and guess what? They coming for the ass.
Now, Stevie,
coming for the ass.
Oh my God, Stevie D in the comments suggests that you're doing a really good job making liberals look crazy.
Actually, I'm not a liberal. I'm a Democrat. There's a difference. I'm not a white liberal. Okay, I'm a moderate Democrat, and I speak my fucking mind. Okay, I'm not gonna care. I'm saying, let me tell you, I'm not like you. Okay, I'm not a passive liberal. Oh my God. Okay, Pookie. Oh, I love my beloved Mega. No, bitch. I can't stand you. Okay. You want to take me down this fucking damn Titanic? I'm coming. You're going. I want to bring you to hell too.
What about, wait, hold on. What about the notion, which is something I sincerely believe, that we're all better off when we talk to each other?
You know what? We was talking when we was telling people what he was going to do to this nation. We was telling them they're going to take the Social Security away. We was telling them they're going to take the Medicaid away. We was telling them they're going to take the Board of Education away. Okay? We was telling them, me and the black women and Hispanic women, all people was telling their asses. But you know what the little slow ones did? No, he's going to bring jobs back. Oh, he's going to do this. He's going to do that.
Okay.
Fuck, no, he didn't.
Okay, but you say that you were telling them all this. What were you telling them when they said they didn't want, biological males in women's sports? What were you telling them when they said, hold on, hang on, hold on.
We're so worried about fucking trans women going into our fucking bathrooms when we got pew-pewing kids in our schools.
What were you?
They don't want to do that. And that's the white kids for you.
I'm just telling you.
White kids.
I'm just indicating that you claim you were telling them stuff. You weren't.
Let's worry about the shit that really does worry about us. Pew-pewing up our kids' schools. Then we had a little kid. What was his name? A little white supremacist kid that unalived his fucking mom and dad for life insurance policy. To come to find out that he was going to go and try to get Donald Trump unalived to do a race war.
I did hear that.
And who was that? YT?
Okay.
So who the fuck is crazy for this damn country? Not us black folk.
But wait a minute, hold on, gangster. Here's the problem, though. When you say you were telling the liberals this and that, I mean, you were telling MAGA all of this stuff. You were not. You were talking down to MAGA. You're criticizing the guy they wanted to vote for. You're calling him an
idiot. You know what? Let me tell you something. You can only lead a horse to fucking water. The motherfuckers don't drink. Oh, right. They're not gonna fucking drink. The fucking special ed fucking dropouts. See, the system, the school system failed these little motherfuckers. They're probably get like GED dropout, like bang them on the head a couple of damn times. Like who was going for this shit? China, going against China. 148% on China, for God's sake.
But
do you know that they're the best ones that make manufacturing? Do you think they're gonna bow down and kiss his white ass? Fuck no.
But China has a history of devaluing their currency and ripping us off.
Let me tell you, they've been here for 5,000 years. We've been here for 200 years.
But that didn't answer what I was about to ask you. China has a history of devaluing their currency compared to ours. They have a history of screwing us over in the tariff war. We can't sell our products there. Is Trump not deserving of credit for being the first person to call this out?
Not this way. Not this way. He's just being a fucking bully. But you know what? The bully will get his, though. The bully will get his. He's destroying this fucking thing. He is. You think we're going to a recession? No, we're going to go deeper than that. And then he's doing all this shit about not letting that dude come back in the country. Why? Why you don't want him back?
He says he's
unalive?
He's
unalive?
He says he's an MS-13 gang member.
Oh, okay. Where's the proof? Show the proof. Show the proof. He was a 16-year-old kid when he came here. Show the proof. He had a lawyer and everything. Show the proof.
Well,
I'm so sick. I am so sick of the Triple K doing this shit. You don't see them doing it to the white man or nobody else. You see them only doing it to the black and brown.
Where are you getting the Triple K from? Where's that coming from?
You don't think they're only drinking tanks out the Triple K? You so light.
What the hell?
You're so light. I mean, people can't see the comments. You're so light. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
You're light. Oh yeah, you thought I turned you white?
yeah, I
You
definitely.
acting like it though.
The sun is,
You acting
yeah.
like it.
Unfortunately,
You
the
neither.
yeah, unfortunately, the sun is starting to set, and I can't do. It's coming in through the right window. Oh my God, we
But
said.
I'm being fucking for real, for real. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not a nice Democrat, Pookie. I'm not. I'll take you to hell and back. I would take you to the fucking hell. 'Cause I can't stand ignorant ass people, especially the YT people, thinking that they the shit and everything else, and they don't know shit. They're in the boondocks somewhere.
You sure you don't have you sure you don't have a chip on your shoulder for white people?
No, I love me some white people that is on our side, but I do not like the maggots. Hell no. The spoiled mayonnaise, the raisin, the potato salad shit, fuck no. The ones that will unalive us, if they had a fucking chance to, you got me fucked up. Now, the normal ass white people that's out there protesting with us and shit, yeah, I have respect for their ass. They come to my barbecue. But the other ones, fuck no.
You think that MAGA, if they had a chance, they would unalive us? Is that what you said?
Yeah? They voted for a racist? What the fuck are you talking about, Willis? And they just had Honey Boo Boo, a white tea boy, to unalive his parents. And they was Trumpsters.
MAGA would
I tell you something, Pookie. I tell you a whole hell of a lot.
MAGA would take the lives of minorities if they had a chance. So that's the strongest comment ever.
They don't like our black asses. They surely don't. They don't like our brown asses, our black. You know why? Because we bust our asses better. And they're the white people on the welfare and shit. Yeah, they think that we're on welfare and shit. But yet they're the ones that are on welfare, not us.
I don't know if you. And I see your comment. Michael says crazy part is I don't disagree with her. I don't see any evidence that Trump is. I mean, you really make him sound really bad. Is there anything good at all?
What the fuck are you talking about, really? Willis, okay, Willis, listen and listen closely. Okay?
I'm listening.
Let me tell you, okay? They would stab you in the back and put you in a tree. The black MAGA would do the same thing. The little maggots, they want to be white so bad. They want to get next to whiteness so bad. The house ninjas.
So not only do you believe, not only do you believe white MAGA is a threat to minorities, you believe that black MAGA would actually participate in it.
They will sell you to the sower. They'll sell you to the slave master. Yes, service. Let me bob on you. Yeah, yeah. They will. What the fuck are you talking about?
Damn.
Do you see how they disrespect black people up on here? Oh, BLM. It's a joke. Oh, we gotta do this. We gotta do. Fuck you and you BLM. You know, I told that's why the maggot won't let me back on. What's his name? Whatever that dude's name is, I forget his name. A little maggot ass that you respect. He won't let me on his shit. I will roast him to hell and back. I'll make him go unalive his damn self.
So you do have a real problem with me respecting MAGA.
Yeah, because you're a sellout, dude. Why? They would stab you in the back. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I've been talking to MAGA for 4 years. And I know MAGA in person. I've never had this happen.
They would sell you to the white master, honey. They would sell you to the white master. Think y'all want? They ain't your friends. They ain't your friends, huh?
All right.
They sold the Triple K. They ain't voted for the Triple K. Look what our country's in. Look how divided it's in. Look how sick it is.
Do you think it would have been? Do you think our country would have been more united if we had elected Kamala Harris as president?
Yes, for God's sake. If we voted for the woman that was the police, the damn dude, the whatever that lawyer thing, the DA, I'm not in trouble with the law, the DA and shit, we would have had prosperity. We would have had money in our fucking pockets. You feel what I'm saying? But oh no, the white T-man, oh my God, there's a black woman that's running. We can't do that. We can't get an educated fucking woman up in there. We gotta go with the wet, orange orangutan. That's a racist.
Well, if Kamala Harris would have did such a better job, why the hell didn't she get elected?
Because we got fucking liberals. Oh, Joe's a genocide. Don't vote for her. She's a genocide. Okay, but bitch, look what's going down, you stupid fucks. They're gonna be a damn parking lot. Good for them. I don't give a fuck now. Truth don't get there. Burn into a band fucker. They damn my damn people. Fuck you now. You feel what I'm saying? Okay? Then you had the other fucking motherfuckers. They didn't want to vote. They want to vote a third party because why? She's a black woman. She's not black enough. She's half. Fucking racist ass bitches. That's what they are.
Well, we'll see what happens in 2028. Guess the grandma.
Guess what, though, lefties? You sorry ass pieces of shit. Guess what? It's going to a parking lot. They're not stopped by me. So I advise you should have went with her.
Well,
she wanted a two-party state. She wanted a peace.
I don't think even.
Oh, no, that's Donald Trump, though. He wants gold statues. He's the Antichrist. These so-called wannabe fucking Christians.
Alter ego, thank you.
He's a Christian. He's a Christian, right? But yeah, he wants gold statues. Do you know what that means in our Bible?
He likes gold.
Christians?
He likes gold.
It's the Antichrist.
Ooh. All right, Andy. I mean, not Andy.
See, let me tell you something. I'm a Christian, right? I was brought up in the church, okay?
Okay.
Now, my mouth don't tell me I'm a Christian, honey. I've been doing it all about I'm a freak. You feel what I'm saying? Like, God's working on me. I can't be holier than thou. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
I've been doing shit. I've been doing some shit. You feel me? But I know the Bible, though. And you know what the Bible says? We're all God's children. You know what the Bible says? We're supposed to honor that. We're supposed to take care of the poor and shit. What this motherfucker's doing in here is not doing nothing what the Bible's saying. The little Christian nationalists is doing the opposite of what God said. And if God was here, he'll be voting Democrat.
Damn.
How about that, bitches?
I'll leave it at that, gangster grandma.
How about that? I got to go, Pookie.
You know it.
I got one more thing to tell you right before I have to go, baby, because I got to go to work. I paid for your ass, okay? You should add us. Now, wait our asses up for like over an hour. Gosh damn it. I got a gripe with your ass.
Talk to you later. That is Gangsta Grandma, everybody. That's Gangsta Grandma. She does not play around. Like I said, we are about free speech. You don't have to agree with everybody that comes on the program. I'll take far right just like I'll take far left. When I say we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q, that is a solemn promise that we will honor. We don't get as many folks on the right as much anymore because Trump is president and most of the criticism is aimed at him. But when Biden was president, it used to be just the opposite. It's not that we're running from MAGA. Understand that. We don't run from MAGA. You can be critical of the host on this program all you want. It's all about free speech here. If the apps will let you say it, we certainly will too. That's how free speech works. Tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 90,000. THOU. We'll continue the program on. Get us up to 90. Let your thumbs not be lazy. MAGA ain't shit, says Will G. Actively moving the goalposts as we speak. Talking about they knew all along that Trump was going to, that. A few people in the comments. No, I'm pretty certain MAGA and Trump supporters, even some of the folks that are serving his administration, did not know all the things he was going to do. Some of them folks are losing so much money personally to some of Trump's terrorists. They didn't know that. I'm certain of that. They may have knew he favored tariffs, but not worldwide. You know, he's on Oprah Winfrey 40 years ago. He's talking about Japan. He wasn't talking about Ethiopia, Madagascar. No, they didn't know that shit. I told you the other day, Nick Fuentes calling Jason Whitlock a token. If it's one, it's all Black MAGA. All Black MAGA are tokens, is what you're alluding to. I'm not Black MAGA, so I can't speak on it. I do talk to a lot of Black MAGA, and I like to hear the opinion on all sides. I don't want to insult people. If I think you're acting, if your ways are tokenism, I may say something like that, but God, you guys are putting me on the spot with that. Aren't Trump and MAGA the biggest sayers of don't hate the player, hate the game? China is the biggest producer. We don't make shit. Yes. If you don't like it, leave. All of that stuff. That is stuff that MAGA often says. And I do believe that, in my opinion alone, you can let me know if you disagree, and I don't have a problem with you being critical any way, fashion, or form, but my opinion is China will beat us at the tariff game. Just the fact that Trump is rolling back shit constantly. First he went to a 90-day suspension. Now all of a sudden he's suspending tariffs on electronics, and I mean he's losing that. That's not a sign of victory. You're on television on Monday, making it certain I'm not going to roll back. These tariffs are going to hit. I'm not even going to entertain a 90-day suspension. And less than 24 hours later, you're on TV talking about a 90-day suspension. He don't look like he's winning. I'm just going to tell you that. He doesn't. That's not to say maybe by some luck of the draw, we may come out victorious, but he don't look like he's winning. Now he's claiming every nation well, not every nation, but dozens of nations are contacting him to make deals. Fair enough. But as we always say, when it comes to proof, he's a little bit short on that. I'm not hearing anything, maybe you guys are, of a whole bunch of nations coming to Trump trying to make deals. I think the Israelis, when Netanyahu was here, made a deal. And maybe a handful of them, but it doesn't seem like a whole bunch of countries are trying to make deals. That's what's happening. But in my opinion, if you were behind the screws negotiating, you wouldn't have had to do all these hardcore tariffs in the beginning. To begin with, you would have went behind the scenes and did this and not tried to embarrass everybody. That's just my point on it. When you're like, for instance, Greenland, acquiring Greenland is something I've said on many lives. I believe there was a really good chance Trump could have succeeded at that. I got a viewer that calls in regularly from Greenland who stated the U.S. already has the right to expand or create additional bases in Greenland. If you need Greenland for strategic military purposes, as the citizen of Greenland called on the program and stated, you already have the right to do that. The owning of Greenland is to get access to the minerals and the resources of that island. It has nothing to do with military strategy, because we already have a military base there. So it has nothing to do with it. They're using that as an excuse to take over that country. And to me, it made perfect sense. We are already there. Why do you need to own it? Name them. I bet they are all small countries. I don't know what countries have contacted Trump to make deals. They were asked, the Trump administration was asked to provide those names and refused to do so, which is quite telling as well. Just like they've been asked to prove that these folks are MS-13 members. They've been asked to prove that Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs. They've been asked to prove that Elon Musk is fighting all this waste, fraud, and abuse. They don't like to provide that very much. So it is what it is. It's up to you to make your own decision of whether they're telling the truth or they're pulling people's chain. Tap the screen, get us up to 90. We'll go to the next caller. We don't want Greenland. We need Greenland. We have already been here, and we will always be. We don't need Greenland. We don't need Greenland. Isn't it odd that before Trump came along, you didn't hear Biden, Obama, George W. Bush, or any of them saying we need Greenland? Ronald Reagan wasn't talking about we need Greenland. They were fine with a military base there. They were not talking about purchasing the country and taking it over. And Trump is talking about even if they don't sell it, he's not taking the military off the table. Notice that you didn't hear that until Trump came along. You didn't hear that about Canada either. You didn't hear anybody talking about we need to own Gaza. Gaza's had a lot of wars in it. You never heard this stuff until Trump came along. And in regards to suggesting that we need Greenland and, Trump and J.D. Vance talking about they need it for safety purposes, the people in Greenland are like, we didn't feel unsafe until you got here. So I don't know about that one. We already have a base there. What's most likely to happen if we lose our base? There's no threat of losing the base. There was never any threat from Greenland of kicking America off the island. It's America saying we don't want to just be here. We want to own it. There was never any threat of that. Greenland has never publicly said you need to go. Fuck Gaza. Negrified hero. Okay, wow. MAGA is in charge. Go climb back under your rock, Democrats. That is true. MAGA is in charge right now. Countries are for the next period making a deal with the USA, but now they have 90 days to start working together with other countries because the USA is not showing not showing to be a trusted trading partner. I will, before I go, are we at 90 yet? Tap the screen, get the likes up to about 90. A good minute of tapping on TikTok. We can make that happen. Smash that like button if you're on YouTube. Help out the program, helps out the algorithm. By the way, if you enjoy this type of dialogue, open dialogue from all sides of the aisle without any concern of the host trying to dictate how you should speak or think, congratulations, you're in the right place. I'd ask that you follow if you're on TikTok and subscription if you're on YouTube. We're here generally Monday through Friday, often in the makeshift studio. But today, because of the weather, we're in the vehicle. So tap the screen, share the live if you will, and a subscription anytime. Appreciate that. Before we go to the next caller, get us up to 90. Your team has completed the first, oh, that's something else. Can I come up, MAGA? Yeah, we'll bring you up in a second here. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Trump's legacy is the death of the USA. Damn, that's harsh. Don't know what I'm hitting here. Major Blue, boo. Good evening. Welcome to the program. I'm pronouncing that name right. Let me know when you come up. The Penguins were the only ones who made a deal with a piece of shit Trump. Wow. The Penguins, that also makes Trump or the Trump administration look like they're lacking competence. When you're making deals, or better yet, deals, when you're imposing tariffs, rather, on uninhabited locations, did you guys even think this through? Why are there tariffs being imposed on islands that have no people? That does look like they are just doing shit. Same thing with the immigrants where you're sending folks and then all of a sudden, from what I can hear, they're indicating they may have to bring some immigrants back to do certain jobs in the country. I mean, it just looks like you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. That's the way it looks. When you fire federal workers and then you got to hire them back because you've gotten rid of nuclear engineers and things like that, or what is his name, JFK or RFK rather, gets rid of folks working at the CDC and then suddenly you got to hire them back. It does look like you're not really doing this based on any kind of competent analysis. Just doesn't look right. But maybe I'm seeing it differently. We'll try the next caller. We brought up one that didn't go through. Stops countries from going around tariffs. You can't stop. The thing about it is, what a lot of folks don't realize, I think, in the hopes that Trump wins the tariff war, Trump could win the tariff war, and there still could be a substantial amount of losses. Meaning, countries making tariffs or making deals, rather, treaties and things like that with each other, and friendships and bonds developing that we used to didn't have to worry about. Like the Asian countries, Japan and China are talking now. Stuff like that could hurt us down the line because you're creating friendships that did not used to exist, and America was on top of the world. Now all of a sudden you're creating because people are looking for ways to go around America. We're treating everybody like shit. I mean, we're talking bad about everybody. Everybody's making it, taking advantage of us, if you ask Trump. Doesn't the right talk about victim mentality often? America right now is saying it's a victim of the entire world. Everybody's taking advantage of us. So all of a sudden, these nations like the NATO nations now realize the United States is not necessarily dependable if something happens. Our trading partners are saying the same thing. Canada is concerned about its own sovereignty from the United States. Mexico is as well. I mean, we're creating relationships among our allies that do not include us all over the place. So even if Trump wins the tariff war, we may be able to impose higher tariffs on countries, but they may be trading a lot less with us at that point. So understand that. You can win and still lose. Also keep in mind, while this tariff war is in procession, you and I are paying higher for shit. We'd lose no matter what happens. If all of a sudden the nations cave to President Trump, they meet his demands and start paying the higher tariffs that he's imposed, do you think they're going to give you any of that money? Did you not see him on television with Charles Schwab bragging that the guy made $2 million in a single day? You're not going to get any of that. All of these Americans, federal employees that have been fired from their jobs due to Doge, farmers losing money due to everything from removing USDA subsidies to the tariffs and not being able to do business with Canada, to losing their immigrant labor, the farmers they're not going to get any of that money that Charles Schwab made. They probably are the reason he made so much. Their stock went down, and he knew when to bet, and the money came to him. So understand that even if these nations cave to Trump and his tariffs, you're not likely to get any of it. All you're going to get is the misery that you go through waiting for them to cave. You're going to pay all the extra money you pay for goods and services until they cave. And when they cave, you don't get any of that money back. So even if he wins, you likely lose. If MAGA is in charge, prepare for the end of times. Damn, Will, that bad? No. Damn. Andy, good evening. Welcome to the program. No strategy. Stop countries from going. Okay, I'm behind in the comments. Andy, good evening.
Hello, how are you today?
I don't even know. I'm deep in the trenches at this point.
I'm repulsed by some of your viewers' comments, just due to the fact that if you didn't come prepared to the conversation about the basic Constitution, you shouldn't be talking about politics. I think that earlier, that's who the guest that you were reading, I don't think they were talking about you. Because his exact words were, I didn't come prepared today. Well, no, we're basically talking about upholding the Constitution when we talk about bringing this man back. And I'm kind of agreeing with Gangster Grandma, like, we seen proof of life.
Gangster Grandma is
Where's
harsh.
proof of life?
It's Are you talking
Where's
about?
proof of life?
Well, they claim Kilmar Garcia is healthy and well.
Yep, sure they do. Where's the picture?
It's a good point. It's a good point. And that's something that they should...
Like, if that was true, wouldn't they be parading his ass around? Like, see, we told you, he's just fine. But they're not.
Do you think he may no longer be with us?
I'm pretty sure he's not in the shape he left here in.
Ooh, well, yeah. I mean, he's not eating well. He's stressed out. I'm sure of that. I don't think any of them are.
I mean, look how they were handling them. Look at what the stewardess said. You know, just take care of yourself if the plane goes down. Don't worry about those people shackled in the back. You not seen that report yet?
Don't worry. Wait, say that again.
Worry about yourselves. Don't worry about the immigrants in the back. Make sure you get yourself out, because they asked about how they were going to get them out if they were in chains.
Oh, on the plane going over. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does look...
Why would I believe in any form or fashion what they tell me? Because they told me they were all criminals, didn't they?
Gang members, rapists, murderers, gang members, yeah.
Due process is in the Constitution. You cannot pencil whip a damn amendment.
Well, but here's the pushback. They're suggesting that if you're not a citizen of this country, you have no right to our Constitution.
The Supreme Court has already ruled on that, and they would say that you need to read the Constitution more, and they're the last word on it, and they said they do.
Well, that's something that needs to be made.
So, I mean, I'm sorry that they failed civics. I am. I am so annoyed at how quickly... Because do you remember when Biden tried to give out student loans, and the Supreme Court said that's not constitutional?
Ouch! I damn sure remember, because I was...
Constitution. Where's that push for the Constitution today?
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't like what Biden was doing. I thought he needs a new plan. Because I don't like breaking the Constitution no matter who's in office.
Well, the thing about it is they believe that Trump has the best direction for this country. So if he missteps or skirts a few laws, they're okay with it.
When did we start running on a man? When did we start swearing the allegiance to a man? I could have sworn the military swears an allegiance to the Constitution. Is that not correct?
That is correct, yeah.
You're only worth your salt if you're worth the guidelines you're built around. When you start operating outside those guidelines, you are not to be trusted.
Well, the notion is...
become an enemy of the state. That's how I feel about it, very clearly.
I had MAGA tell me, though, that they would not be this devoted to Trump if the liberals and Biden hadn't screwed up so damn much.
That's bullshit. Who went around for X amount of time saying, oh, it'll go away in 4 weeks? It's going to be okay. And left this country with the hospitals full, pretending like everything was lovely, when we knew damn good and well it wasn't. I swear to God. You know that saying, every accusation is a confession?
Ooh.
They have damn sure lived up to that moniker lately.
Yeah, you're saying that Trump did say that the COVID would be gone by April, like 4 months later, and yeah, he did say that. I do recall him saying that. Well, I mean,
yes, we had a 9-point inflation rate in 2022, and of course, stock market was crashing because we were at the height of C-19. It was just wrapping up. The supply chain had broken down from several countries shutting down to prevent their people from getting sick. Not just us. The world doesn't revolve around us. I know we think we're so exceptional, and you know.
we do tend to think
no
that.
wrong,
We
but
do
that's all
tend to think
bullshit.
that. Yeah, we do tend to think. You seen Trump say we don't need Canada, we don't need them, they need us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need 61% of the fuel that we import from them, though, don't we?
Yeah, he said we don't need them. So at the end of the day, you think his
That's because he's a nepo baby and had a golden spoon in his whole mouth his whole life and didn't know how shit works because he hadn't had to. Daddy Spixers cleaned things up for him. Cohen helped clean things up for him. And then Michael Cohen helped clean things up for him. Donald Trump has got to run around and play the part of the wealthy, blithering moron for years with no accountability. His money insulated him from that, even when he was deeply in debt. They're talking about what a great businessman he is. Then why did he tell Ivana? She tells the story that she said something about a homeless man, and her daddy said, and Trump says, you should feel more sorry for me. At least he's not $900 million in debt.
Well, Trump has a way
I don't know how your daddy gives you 400-something million and you end up 900 million in debt at any point. And then how do you miraculously get out of that debt and the paper trail on that shit's fuzzy as hell, huh?
I mean, the guy.
How did he double his wealth while running for office?
I mean, the way they all doing it.
Seem insane?
The way they all doing
Sounds
politics.
Like corruption, don't it?
Well, that's the way politics works, though, Andy. I mean, a lot of money get thrown at you when you're running for office.
I don't see Joe Biden having a social media bully platform where he goes on there and talks.
Wait, hold on. You don't think that Kamala Harris, with nearly $1 billion being donated to her this last campaign, you don't think her wealth increased?
Social media platform, which is what I said, they go on and use as a bully platform. No, they don't. Find me one Democrat that's got that platform. I'll wait.
I'm just talking about making money.
Got Twitter.
I'm just talking about making money, not just that.
I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about the money at all. I'm talking about the shit they go on there and say and make the American people feel all warm and fuzzy while they're breaking every law in the fucking book. That's what I'm talking about. You and I are looking at this from different aspects completely.
Well, you're saying
they believe him because he was on TV and he inherited a whole bunch of money from his daddy. I would be more impressed, if they waited and judged him on his merit instead of making excuses for everything he does, because that's the reason he's gotten away with everything his whole life. Nobody's ever held him accountable.
But then I gotta ask you, let me push back. And if you're talking about politicians that have not been held accountable, Kamala Harris told us for at least a few years that Biden could do a whole nother term, and that clearly is not true. Should she be held accountable?
He did great at the State of the Union. I'm sorry, I didn't see Trump speak that well at his State of the Union. State of the Union.
Are you telling me you believe? Are you telling me you? Hold on. Are you telling me you believe? Are you telling me you believe that Biden could have done another 4 years?
No, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're trying to change. Let me finish what I was saying. He did great at the State of the Union.
Okay.
Shit, he did great. So, and before that, look at all the legislation he passed. Look at all the deals he had going. Like, we now know that the ceasefire was being worked on under Joe Biden, too. It didn't look like he was failing. I didn't see him, driving us off a cliff.
But that's not answering the question recovery. I'm asking.
It was, hold on. It was slow, but it was recovery. Now, at the debate where he had C-19, he crashed and burned. And after the debate, I agree that he should run. And they made sure he didn't, which is more than I can say for Trump, who just lied about his physical.
Okay. So
man weighs 224 pounds, my ass.
So, but do you believe the Democrats should be held accountable for suggesting that Biden was much better cognitively than he actually was?
I'm saying that she's not a doctor, and had she known, yes. But I don't think that with all the success he had up until C-19, which they pushed him out, was there a problem.
So you telling me you don't
Because
think
he never had the verbal diarrhea that Trump has, where shit just pours out of his mouth that makes no sense at all. And it's not even like when he talks about sharks and water and batteries in the desert in Nevada.
Andy, he's literally falling asleep.
Those people at Coachella,
He's literally
and
falling
nobody to go
asleep.
get 'em.
And Andy, he's literally falling asleep in meetings. What are you talking about?
And Trump fell asleep in court.
But we're talking about
They're old
Biden.
as shit. Being old is not being cognitively declined. Was Biden too old to keep running? Yeah, he'd gotten slow. But I've still never heard Biden say anything remotely as unhinged as some of the shit coming out of Trump's mouth.
Biden is skipping words. He's falling down all over the place. And they're telling us he can do 4 more years.
Trump holds both water with both hands almost. I will criticize Joe Biden on foreign policy because that's something I know that he could have done better.
I'm not talking about criticizing. I'm talking about should the liberals, namely Kamala Harris,
and
no accountability for Kamala Harris telling us he can run for 4 more years.
I don't think she knew. I
Really?
think she knew about the same time we all did, and he didn't finish the term. He did not run again, is what I'm trying to tell you. Had he run and been in that condition and she was saying that, yeah, I'd have blamed her.
You don't think Kamala Harris knew until August when he had that debate? She didn't know that at all. You believe that?
I don't think she thought it was what it was until it was glaringly. Like, you could not tell in any of his speeches until the damn debate.
All of you had virtually all of America saying this guy is incapable, and you're telling me his vice president didn't know.
Nobody wrote a book. Tim, stop. You're trying to project. You're bad as the fucking Republicans. There's no,
I'm just asking.
Was it 23 psychologists? Stop. 23 psychologists got together and wrote a book called A Duty to Warn about how Trump was mental decline. I didn't see that happen when the Democrats were in office, and doctors don't pick and choose that way. They're not going, oh, we're going to do this because, no. And I don't see Biden with a family history of mental decline either. Trump does. But they ignore that. And then Trump lies like he breathes. Also, his speech is 69% more negative since 2016 than it is today. 69% more. Because they measure those things. When they tell you that there's something wrong with somebody cognitively, it's because they measure these things.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking you this
now than Biden ever was.
Yeah, the reason why I asked you this though is because you started out by talking about the right never holds themselves accountable for stuff that Trump.
I would hold him accountable for policy, but you and I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I think in his speeches. Hold on, we are going after this man because he's old and slow and has a stutter. Because, like I said, even the guy that wrote the Her report couldn't prove that he was in mental decline. That's not why they didn't try him. They couldn't prove criminal intent.
I think it should be clear at this point that there were plenty of folks that were around Biden and knew he was in cognitive decline and was telling us otherwise. You see it differently.
You know what? He did not end up running at the end of the day. We had a 55-year-old woman and an elderly old man who just lied about his physical running, and they elected the Dodger no fool. So I don't think that's a problem to them, do you?
Yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. He didn't end up running because finally the liberals were able to talk him. I believe it was Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
hold on. The liberals were finally able to convince him, you are not going to win, you need to step down. By the time he'd done it, he left Kamala and Tim Walz only like 107 days to run. It took him so long to acknowledge what everybody else around him seemed to have known.
Because it wasn't just her behind the scenes, it was the rest of the Democrats. And none of them wanted to cut him loose till the debate either. So it's not just her. Stop.
Do you hold the Democratic Party?
I told you that I would criticize him on foreign policy. There are lots of things he can be criticized for. But to sit here and speculate when neither one of us are a doctor, nobody's written a book about him, the reports we have on him show that he's cognitive, I don't see how you can sit there and say that with any kind of real, gravitas other than the man's old and he stutters.
because people started coming out like George Clooney and George Stephanopoulos of ABC, and they were saying privately, this guy cannot do it. They were actually people who had access to him.
Well, they should have came out and said it on damn screen and had some damn conviction behind their words, because I'd have no problem with that. If you feel that way, don't be that little stab aspirin in the back. Step up and say something. Do something. Be that man for your country.
All right. So is it safe to say, at least from that, is it safe to say, at least from that aspect, the Democrats let the country down?
If Joe had run, maybe. But no. Misogyny and racism let the country down.
Ooh. All right, last but not least, the
liberals, and I'm gonna bitch about them too, and the liberals that went, oh, I can't do it because of Gaza, knowing damn good and well Nikki Haley signed a damn boom boom with her name on it and said, like, come on. Them and the Republicans and the men from fucking the manosphere. How about you look at the societal problems this country has? Look how men talk to women. Look how they talk about Hillary Clinton and Kamala compared to the rest of the men.
Well, unfortunately, our country has moved further to the right, so that's not going to get a lot of attention. I'm not disagreeing with you, but our country has moved further to the right, so it's going to be
my original grievance, no matter what you say in this little imaginary thing about what we know about Joe Biden, since neither one of us are doctors, is Republicans are perfectly okay with cracking that Constitution these days when it doesn't fit their narrative. And this bullshit of, well, he's in charge, y'all sit back and shut up. If we had said that to them when Joe Biden was in charge, they would have literally exploded, lost their minds, crazy. And you know it.
I think
they're hypocritical as hell.
I think some of that was said. I think Obama did say, I won, and he could do things with his pen. So we did kind of say it during Obama, but not during Biden.
Did you see that video recently? Can you imagine if I did any of this shit?
No.
Obama sitting in front of a screen talking about Trump, going, can you imagine if I did any of this shit? And he's right.
I have seen that video.
Put his fucking feet up on the desk or wear a tan suit. So do not act like Obama did anything near as egregious, more than wanting to have a basketball court where he could work out and his wife grow some fucking vegetables, as Donald Trump deporting people with no due process.
I can't argue with that last part. Andy, thanks for coming through.
Peace, y'all.
Always a pleasure. Will G says, if MAGA is in charge, prepare for the return of the Messiah. And it's not a good thing. If MAGA believes in the rapture isn't real. The way they describe it. Ooh. The return of the Messiah. So what's going to happen? That's strong. I mean, it's biblical, obviously, but you really think MAGA is that dangerous? That's crazy stuff right there, too, says Andy. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. I'm reading on the screen. That's what it says. The Republican Party is worse than Trump because they allowed Trump to break the law. I'm going to say it like this. I'm willing to defend where I think defense is, and I'm willing to, I call balls and strikes no matter who's pitching. I think you've seen that. It is what it is. I don't, it doesn't matter who has the cards. I call a spade a spade. I do agree that the Republican Party would idly stand by if Trump broke the law. I think we've seen examples of that. I mean, ending birthright citizenship, which I believe is in the Constitution, the right is not saying anything about that. So I gotta agree from my personal analysis that if Trump was to break the law, the right, when I say the right, I mean the conservative Congress and conservative Senate. I don't believe they would do anything about it. Most of them would not. I do believe they would let that happen. Bum TikTok Times. I don't know what that means there. Lesbians are just better than straights anyway. In my comments, what the hell does that mean? Lesbians are better than straights. Well, looking in the comments here, birthright citizenship applies to U.S. parents. I don't think that's in the Constitution. I believe if you have a child on U.S. soil, your citizenship doesn't matter. Does the Constitution specify that the people having, because you're saying that birthright applies to U.S. citizens. Would you really even need to write that down? I mean, if two people get together that are born in America, they have an American, of course, where else is the kid going to be from? I mean, so I do believe birthright citizenship has been the tradition in this country for quite a while, and Trump is challenging that tradition. And my belief is that it's against the Constitution, but you're saying otherwise. The Supreme Court ruled it does back in the 1890s. Yeah, I was always under the impression of that too, that if you had a child in this country, it was a citizen of the country, and that's only under the Trump administration where they're trying to change that. And the right is not saying anything about it. It's certainly, because here's the issue about that. When Melania Trump, was she a citizen when she gave birth? In fact, I think I did some research on this. I don't believe Melania Trump was a citizen when she gave birth to their youngest. I don't think she was a citizen, because I used it in regards to the whole notion that Kamala Harris, as opposed to being black, she was Jamaican and Indian or something like that. And I asked the question, and if that's the case, then that means Trump's youngest son is not white. He's American and Slovenian. I mean, if you're going to break it down to where they're coming from, as opposed to calling them white or black, that means Trump's youngest son is not white. Due process of law, section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. All persons born, period, or naturalized. So in other words, if you're born in America, you're an American citizen. That's what I was under the impression of. The Supreme Court ruled that there is no such thing as birthright citizenship. I have not heard that. Going back to the box, where we tap the screen, 115, make that happen. Tap the screen, get the likes on up. They are just tired of the medical being jacked up. I don't get it. Every first world country on earth has a medical. In fact, most countries have socialized healthcare long before we even thought about it. And they also have an illegal immigration problem. When I lived in Australia, folks from Fiji, Somalia, Papua New Guinea, even some New Zealanders were illegal immigrants in Australia. They had an illegal immigration problem. I mean, obviously, we have a border you can walk across, so there's going to be more of it. But most first world countries have an illegal immigration problem. That's not, people say, well, everybody wants to come here. Bullshit. Mexicans would be happy going to a lot of other countries as well. They would happily go to Canada if they could get there, but the United States is in a way. But no, it ain't that everybody wants to come here. Every first world country has a problem with illegal immigration. People go to the country that is nearest to them, that is doing that well. Now, they don't want to go from a third world to developing maybe, but first world countries, all of them have. In fact, most developing countries even have a illegal immigration problem. So that ain't something that's unique to the United States. All 4 of your grandparents, both parents, and you must be born here to be a citizen. That ain't by no means is that true. All 4 of your grandparents, both of your parents, and you must be born here to be a citizen. Then that would definitely exclude President Trump's youngest son, because his mom wasn't born in the country. That would mean that Trump's youngest son, whatever his name is, Barron, I think it is, that means he's not a citizen of the country, based on what you just said. That is absolutely not true. Your grandmother? That's totally not true. And yeah, you're right. And Trump, too. Trump's grandparents were not even born in this country. Yeah, you would exclude every damn body. You start doing that, your grandparents got to be born there? So many people speak nothing but error from their mouths. Yeah, that's really crazy. Yeah, I didn't fall for that. I just read it because it was insane. United States versus Wong. Okay, I don't know what that's one of the cases you're talking about. What is a liberal person's favorite sandwich? Oh my God. Scorpion says, what is a liberal gay person's favorite sandwich? And LGBTQ. God. Oh my Lord. Maybe it's getting late. Maybe I need to go ahead and end this program. God. Liberal gay person's favorite sandwich. I mean, it's a funny joke. It actually is funny. I'm not going to hate on that. It's homophobic as fuck. But it is funny, and we laugh. You know, it is what it is. Trump's children fulfilled two criteria for automatic U.S. citizenship. They were born to at least one U.S. citizen parent, and they were born in the United States. Okay, so all of that grandparent shit, you're immediately discarding that. Trump's wife had a green card before Barron was born. It's easy to Google people stuff. Well, the green card, you guys don't want a green card holder to give birth to an American citizen. You're saying citizenship. So if Melania Trump only had a green card, that means according to that's the rules you guys are using with the brown people. You don't want a person with a green card to have an American citizen. Gold card now available. Yeah, if you got $5 million, people with no teeth have to go. All right, it's getting late. Real quick, looking in the comments before we move it on. They don't want anything, says Mike. I don't know. I do not know. I'm hearing some interesting individuals in the program. Let me go back to the box. First watch. Now, first watch, you're telling me you knew everything that Trump is doing was going to happen. So I'm curious in regards to talking to you. Good evening, First Watch.
Good evening, handsome.
Hey, so you're telling me you knew Trump was going to talk about taking Greenland by force?
Man, you talked about it. When we talked about why did Trump, before the election, we talked about the situation with Greenland and...
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. I say you go back and look. We had that. You say, why do Trump want to take Greenland? I say because they have Russia and China and certain minerals and stuff that we need. We had a decent conversation about it.
So based on what you're saying, they have certain minerals that we need. We are taking their country to exploit the wealth of it, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying that we're taking their country to exploit the wealth of that. I'm saying
you just said it.
No, with inception that we will be able to have that. I'm saying that Russia and China right now, Greenland wants their independence. When they get their independence from Denmark, Denmark is up under NATO. Once Greenland gets their independence, Greenland is not going to be up under NATO. So therefore, China and Russia already want Greenland.
Why do you what makes you say Greenland won't be under NATO? What is making you say that?
Greenland is not a part of NATO right now. Only Denmark is a part of NATO.
Yeah, but Greenland is not fighting.
If they're independent, then they won't be a part of NATO. Despite what your hypotheticals are, they will not be a part of NATO.
How do you know that? Where you heard that Greenland is trying to become independent from Denmark?
What do you mean what I heard? If you can Google it. There's that's been happening for the last year and a half, 2 years.
And you think they're going to continue doing that, knowing that Trump is lurching on the side, ready to take them?
Of course they are. Why wouldn't they?
If you're part of NATO, protected by Article 5, and you know for a fact it's almost like you're in the nest and you can literally see a hawk waiting at the next tree. Why would you come out of the nest knowing he's waiting to eat your ass? America has made it clear that we want to buy Greenland, but Trump stated that he's not removing military off the table. So by force, possibly. Why would you even entertain leaving NATO under that circumstance?
You're talking hypothetical, Tim.
I'm talking what Trump has said.
No, well, what Trump is saying and what's going on with Greenland, one that independent from Denmark, is two totally different things from what you're saying. Just like you have all the hypotheticals about saying with Democrats. I can't wait to get into that.
Wait, give me a hypothetical in regards to this. Did Trump not say that he wants to take Greenland and the military he's not taking the military off the table? Did he not say that?
Okay, so what do that mean? If I say that we need Greenland and we said that we're going to legally purchase Greenland, but the military is not off the table.
What does that mean to you when he says that?
What does that mean? I'm asking you.
Okay, that means that if they don't sell it, we're open to using the military to acquire it by other means, is what it means.
And what do you feel like something wrong with that? If Russia and China is going to bid Russia right now, Russia and China are trying to acquire Greenland. They have been in talks over a year. We're trying to acquire Greenland. So, do you think that we should let Russia and China obtain?
I think the people of
It really
Greenland.
doesn't matter.
I,
No, it doesn't matter what
I,
the people of Greenland are gonna say at the point of time of war.
so,
That's just
so in other words, the people of Greenland. You saying it don't matter what the people of Greenland want to say about their own country?
only their government. Their government made this decision for the people. They're gonna make their government gonna make the right decision for the people of Greenland.
And
That's
then
why
their government does not want America to own Greenland.
their government didn't say that.
The government didn't even let J.D. Vance in the damn country. He could only go in the U.S. military base. What more do they need to say to you?
No, that's not true, Tim.
Really? Where'd you hear this from?
I watched the whole event transpire.
So the government of Greenland is friendly to the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
And you watched that. Where did you watch that on? OAN or Newsmax?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Yes, I did. I watched it on Fox.
All right, look. If you think the government of Greenland was friendly to the Trump administration, I don't have a lot more to say to you in regards to this topic.
You're talking about the military, and she was fired. The head of the military.
I'm not talking about Americans. I'm talking about the government of Greenland. When J.D. Vance went over there, were they friendly? Were they open arms to the Trump administration?
Yes, they were.
All right. I'll leave it at that. Let me ask you something. This is totally off topic. This whole, because I titled it Cash for Killers, this Carmelo Anthony situation where he took the life of Austin Metcalf. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Self-defense?
I have my liberal friend here because I'm MAGA and he's liberal, and he's like, listen, he actually wanted to talk to you, but he said we shouldn't talk about that conversation, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So go ahead.
Was it self-defense?
Was it self-defense? I'm gonna tell you something, Tim. Right now, at this point, I don't have enough evidence to say that it was self-defense or what the situation was, because what I heard a few different situations about, they took a phone, they tried to jump him, they tried to beat him, and these different situations. But one thing what I can say about the young man, which is still a young man, and might I say, he saved a life also. So with him saving a life in his younger age, yes.
What the hell does that got to do with this, though?
No, what I'm saying is he's participated in saving a life, and now he's participating in taking a life. And that's very important.
That ain't got nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does. It does because of his intent. What I'm saying is he didn't wake up that morning and intended to kill someone. Even though he had a knife and he was carrying himself and arming himself, he didn't wake up that morning to think about that he wanted to actually. Probably woke up. He probably wanted to defend himself at that point and at that time, and that's all he did. Because he stabbed the person and ran. That was the most cowardice thing that you could do.
Well, if you're doing it in front of a crowd that may kick your ass, it ain't cowardly. But so what you're saying is that if Derek Chauvin had saved lives previously, that might have some effect on how you view him in taking George Floyd's life because he saved some lives before.
Okay, now you jump way on the George Floyd.
I'm just trying to figure this out.
That's how you pivot stuff and you catch people off guard. So now let's go back to Derek Chauvin. Listen, I'm not for Derek Chauvin getting a pardon or nothing. Let me say that first.
So you are reasonable. You are reasonable.
But I'm not. No, that makes sense. And with him saying he had fentanyl and this in his system, no, I don't aspire to any of that. I'm only going to answer to the question that you're saying, and I want you to understand the belief that I have before I answer this question. Okay?
I'm listening.
I do believe that.
All right. I gotta go, man. I know you getting high as fuck over there. I gotta go.
No. I'm not getting high as fuck over here and this and that, because there was some other things that I wanted to speak to you about. That's why I held on all night for you. Because okay, then I'm not gonna say it. All right.
Oh, all right. Appreciate it though. Anytime. All right, look at the comments. My comments went wild. He was Debo says we hear the pipe, dude. Oh shit! Oh my god! You're hurting my internals. I could hear something like, "Are you on oxygen?" He said, "We hear the pipe." Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. All right, the Messiah will come down like a thief in the night, as he said, taking heads. That's grim, Will. That's grim. You're suggesting that the election of Trump is biblical and that we are all essentially doomed. Damn. I want your money and your drugs, says Rooster in regards to my last caller. Okay. All right, tap the screen. Guy said I can hear the pipe. Debo, that was really funny. All right, going on with the next caller. Mike. Good evening, Mike. Welcome to the program. I think he's lying. He's trying to come up with something else. Okay, says Mayan. Mayan, I tried to bring you up earlier, Mayan Boo. Mike, good evening. I am your father.
For a second. Sound like you remember the police stack from Land of the Lost?
Oh, you know what I'm thinking, Luke? You know what I'm thinking? I am your father. Like Darth Vader.
Yeah, but it's the watered down version. It's the Luke, I'm your baby daddy.
Oh my god!
But anyway, listen. First of all, he was wrong. Greenland. The last Greenland.
Oh, he's really wrong on this one. He was really wrong. They had open arms to JD Vance. That's crazy.
Yeah, so let's just clear that up. I was actually surprised you went there about the Carmelo Anthony. I haven't heard you talk about it.
Let me give it to you the way I started the program out when we first came on. I'm calling it cash for killers is what I'm saying. Cash for killers. The point I'm making is if you are accused of a heinous crime like murder, alleging this guy committed an act of murder, should you be able to receive huge donations and or profit while you're being accused of or having murder allegations posed against you? Now, I brought up in recent times Luigi Mangione, Kyle Rittenhouse, George Zimmerman, they all received a ton of money while they were being accused of murder as well. But should it be legal? Should it be legal?
It should be legal. Yep, it should be legal because you haven't been convicted yet. You're innocent until proven guilty. So, that's just like getting out on bail or it's still working. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Innocent until proven guilty. If people are giving it to them, they're giving it to them. Now, they have a problem with it now. They don't have a problem with it about the other ones that you had mentioned or Daniel Penny, but they got a problem with it now. So, I don't have a problem with it. It is what it is.
What do you think? You think this guy, you think that was a case of self-defense? He stuck a guy in the chest, in the heart.
Yeah, it's self-defense. It was self-defense.
You really think that's self-defense?
100%. Well, you gotta read the Texas law, which I've read through it extensively. It is it's legal. It's stand your ground. He doesn't have to retreat. And it was self-defense. It's a sad thing because I don't think anybody's happy about it. I think if the day could start over again, everyone involved would have done something different. But that's not what happened. It was self-defense, clearly.
Clearly. I mean, you believe that what Austin Metcalf did gave him the reason to believe his life was in danger?
Yes. Yeah, but and again, that's an opinion, but I do. Now, here's the thing. How big are you, Tim?
6'6", 300.
And
300.
300. So if somebody's 5'9" and 180 and they got a poker with them, you might get stuck, my guy. I mean, are you asking me to wait to see what you might do to me? By the way, I'm not that small, but are you asking me to wait for somebody.
I don't know if I'm threatening to kick your ass, I don't know if you have a legal right to kill me though. But especially before the ass kicking commences. I don't know if you have a right to kill me.
Well, if you put your hands on me, we got a problem. And if I tell you to stop and then you do it again, right? And
You can. I don't think you can jump all the way up to lethal force under that. Okay, let's say for instance I shove you. Let's say we're in a bar or something. We're looking at the same chick or something like that, and I'm they claim he's 100 pounds more than Carmelo Anthony, so he's a much big disparity. So you shoved the guy. Now, first of all, the folks have suggested that Carmelo Anthony said, "Hit me better than punch him or what."
Now, just to be clear, the word again is not in the police report. Outright.
Yeah, but even if you're telling me
statute of this law in this situation, and I always use this example when people want to push back. If Carmelo was a girl, would we be having this discussion?
Not as much, no.
Okay, well, the law doesn't give a damn if the victim is a male or female. The law doesn't put. It's their belief of fear. It's their belief of fear. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Ms. Sooner, it is the police. It is the police report. It is the real one. But it's that person's belief of fear. And in Texas, again, like Florida, it's not California. It's not other states. They don't have all of these. They're an open carry state. They don't have all these qualifiers like other states. And we're only having this conversation, Tim, or people that want to throw him underneath the jail, is because of what you just said. Because I'm throwing
him under the jail. I mean, listen, I wouldn't get a guy the rest of his life in prison, but the idea that he's not guilty and this is self-defense just doesn't make sense. I'm actually thinking this guy deserves at least some time. Wow, you're saying he was a self-defense act?
Well, think about it, Tim. If you're the aggressor and I have a knife and you're coming at me, number one, I don't have to do a lot of work if you're coming at me and you're that much bigger than me. You got to remember, it's only 3.5 inches to get through your chest cavity. That's number one. Number two, we're acting as if that we know for sure that he was aiming for his heart. You see what I mean? See all the conclusions everybody's coming to, like he's some surgeon and he knew exactly what. That's not how this happens. And then when he left, he went to the police, told them what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't have to go look for him, and he was crying hysterically. That's in the police report too. And then he asked, was he gonna be okay?
Damn.
I'm just listen, I'm telling you. Now, I'm gonna say it again, because this case is very important, because it's gonna go to race relations, and this could be the powder keg in this moment that we're in this country. But I want to remind everybody, you haven't heard the Trump administration say anything about this stuff yet, but they were all over that Daniel Perry stuff. They were all commenting about that. Trump, J.D. Vance, Vivek, hell, even invited him up to the suite when he got when he didn't get convicted. Okay, so we got to pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah, you know something, for the folks who suggest that Trump doesn't have a racial bone in his body, Kyle Rittenhouse, all of them, he does, he clearly picks sides. He definitely picks sides. There's no denying of that.
And he happens to pick sides when, Tim? If this is
when the white person is the one being